is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
I do the same thing. I told you that I never would. I told you I changed, even when I knew I never could. Know that I can't find nobody else as good as you. I need you to stay, need you to stay.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 2. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Jason Strudwick. Beautiful Wednesday afternoon. How we feeling today, boys?
What's up, fellas? Have you guys seen this TTC thing where they've changed the name of like the people who inspect for tickets and the new acronym? Do you know what that is?
Yes, I'm aware of it. But go ahead, please.
Is this not the most bizarre thing? They would have had a lot of time to workshop this and test it out, and they came up with POO.
Yeah.
Provincial Offenses Officer. Poo. What do you do? Oh, I'm a poo for the TTC.
That's how I operate.
Yeah.
Serious business. And evidently, like, whoever's running their Twitter account, I don't know if you guys saw this, and I hope I'm not being duped because I will admit I was laughing. And with Twitter right now, you guys know you have no idea what's real, what's not, what's a bot. AI's throwing everything out of whack. But I saw, someone joking about it online, which, naturally joking, was an adult around our age. Again, it's probably, is it immature humor to laugh at an acronym like that? Of course it is. Will I ever not laugh at that? No, I always will. Like, there will always be a time in my life where I'll laugh at the stupidity of something like that. And someone was tweeting about it and pointing it out, just having fun. And someone from the admin staff of the poo department came over the top with, like, grow up, sir. Like, how dare you? Like, and it's like, you're not helping.
This is
your cause.
no laughing matter.
Yeah,
that's
you're
what
not
the
helping
tweet
your
was.
cause. You're not helping.
It's bad enough that it probably doesn't smell great on a lot of those
especially in the
vehicles.
summer heat, man. As a city kid who grew up, I used to take the TTC to go to school. Like, you'd go to school in the morning, come home in the afternoon at like 3:30 when it's 35 degrees outside. It was a wild scene. Wild scene. But, yeah, listen, we're getting things done in the city, right? Like, we're getting things done. There's a lot going on with that Eglinton LRT. Nothing to see here. We're
years
the
away.
Department.
We're almost there. We're just a couple more years, and we'll get that Eglinton LRT.
Yeah,
we got the poo department.
Yeah,
I think things are really
here.
trending upward.
Everything's
really
working, Strud, in your
upward.
favorite city.
Yeah.
Everyone in Toronto, we're not calling in the military yet, but it's right around the corner. They're on call if we ever need them.
But why would you put that in there? Like, when you're putting this together as the think tank of people getting together, and it's going to be mocked. So just change it. Just avoid it. Like, it's almost like we don't care. We know we're right. We're going to do this. And there's just an arrogance about it and you see it other places too that have weird first letter acronyms like that.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, how you got there. Like, maybe the acronym just never came up. Like, maybe people are just they were blind to the acronym. They weren't thinking that way. It rolled off the tongue, the actual terminology, and they thought, this is great, and people are going to take us very seriously, which is, again, something that probably isn't going to happen. Like, I get why they're there. They're trying to make sure that people are paying their fares, and there's always issues with transit and money and all that kind of stuff, which I understand, but people probably weren't going to take you that seriously anyway, unfortunately. And now on top of it with the acronym, you could be in for one. But I have not personally come across anyone in this new department. I look forward, to tipping my cap.
No one
at some point
representing
when I do.
poo? You haven't seen anyone representing poo
Have
lately?
not seen anyone representing them yet. I pay all my fare. It's all good. Whenever I'm there, I'll make sure to do that. That's another thing that's changed in the world, though. Well, you know what? It's interesting because when I was a kid growing up, it was, remember, they'd have the little, like, the, I don't even know how to describe it.
It's like a
almost
kiosk
looked
where you get a token and you
it almost
go
looked
through
like a
the roundabout.
Well, there's the roundabout, but there was also where there were staff that you'd get change, you could buy tickets back then, because the fare back then was $1.50 or whatever it was when I was a kid, especially if you had a student card. So it wasn't exact change, and there'd generally be tellers, and the tellers would be sitting there watching it, and they'd be quick on the trigger to stop I'm struggling for words here. It's not the roundabout, but the way to get through into the station.
Is it a carousel?
I guess a carousel, but it's at your hip. You know, like a carousel sometimes at like Canada's Wonderland to get onto a ride, like it flips over, if you know what I mean. Like it's not the full-bodied one. It's at your hip. It's like a carousel. And I'd go in there as a kid sometimes when I didn't have enough money, and you'd be like, how am I going to get on this train? I have to get home, and I spent all my money doing something else stupid. And you try to come up with as many coins as you could, pennies, nickels, and you just throw them in there and fly through and hope that the guy wasn't quick enough to kind of, hey, wait a minute, you're short. But every once in a while, you get a guy who was on his toes, and he'd click it, and you'd just get buried by that thing in the waist, and then he'd say, wait a minute, come back here. It's like, you're short. And then eventually, you know, if you're 13, 14, and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't have enough money, you'd be like, go ahead, just get it. I'm like, then why'd you stop me? I guess it's a good lesson. I should make sure I have the right, appropriate amount of money. I guess what I'm admitting to is, about 25 years ago, if the poo department was around, they would have their eyes on me.
Dude, you'd be full of poo.
I would have been
full of poo.
I would have been knee deep. And I would have been in serious trouble. But now, you know, we're living in an era where there's cars, there's the Presto system, all that kind of stuff. It's disappointing. Do we have tokens anymore? I don't think
you can even use the tokens anymore. Like, you can't buy them, but I think even if you had a bunch left over, like, they might not even be valid. Like, I haven't been down there in a while, but my last recollection of it is, like, there's no one really – not that there's no one inspecting, but there's no guy there. There's no authority that you need to check in with. It's like you're on your own, you swipe your card, you go through, people jump it, people take a leak, whatever they do. It's crazy.
You need people around. Like, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like, when there's people of authority there or people that are staffed and working, you know, you consider that. You know, you're like, all right, well, let's keep everything on the up and up. When there's no people around, that's when you get chaos, man. And those tokens were so valuable, though, back in the day.
Oh, dude, I respect that guy.
That's so huge.
That guy who was the authority on in and out of the subway, I respect that guy. He took his job seriously, and sometimes, like yourself, you had to kind of face the music, but maybe it was good that we had that guy that really appreciated that. Being the gatekeeper. He was the gatekeeper to transit in the city.
As he should be. And you'd always have to talk your way out of it. And that's another thing. I don't know if kids are talking themselves out of things anymore. You know, like, that was a skill, a life skill, being like, all right, I just got to face the music here. Like, how am I going to get home? I don't have enough money to get on here. I got to find a way to talk my way out of this. So let us know, you know, if you've run into any of this new department. I'm almost afraid to say it because I feel like
let us know if you ran into poo recently.
Okay, let us know if you have any old school tokens. The ticket system used to be there back in the day, but that was one where you had to go through the carousel. You had to actually show it to someone and, like, put it in the little blender thing or whatever, and they'd open the slot, and boom, you'd go on your way. So beautiful start. I love the nostalgia of the TTC. And hopefully it continues to improve as we move forward.
Turnstile. That's what it is. It's not a carousel. It's a turnstile.
Yes. I could not remember that word. It was right there, and I'm like, this is bothering me.
It was like that was me and Struddy trying to play one-on-ones. There's turnstiles. Next.
I knew the word, but I still have PTSD from it, so I don't talk about it. You got turnstile that shift. Yeah, thanks, buddy. That feels really good. Want you back?
That's 3 in a row. Thanks.
Well, weren't those the worst drills when the defenseman would have to start like 2 feet, you know, like skating backwards, you know, on the top of the circles, and the forwards cheating anyway? It's like, do you think I can keep up with you? Like, I can't.
No.
It's not possible.
We're trying to get your feet going. No, that's not fair. You're setting me up to fail. And then the forwards just fly by. They're like, see ya! Wah! They're just screaming, and then they score. Then all the forwards cheer. I'm like, you know what? I'll do that when you guys back check. When you actually back check with the same energy you do on one that's going to turn from 1-1 into a breakaway right away, it bothers me. So I hate, though. I run D-man camps. We don't do that. I don't set the kids up to fail. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
That
Stop doing that, coaches.
It's about time someone thought that way.
I hate it.
Doesn't make sense. Give me a chance at least. Give a guy a chance to build his confidence.
I will say this, as a younger kid, I'd play forward. It was nerve-wracking if you got the defenseman that could really skate. And you're like, if I don't beat this guy, that's a bad look for me because everyone else is getting burned. You know, like the 5th, 6th defenseman's he's getting blown past at the first blue line. You know, and if I can't beat this guy, I'm in trouble here. So the nerves do go the other way when there is a defenseman like, you know, Cale Makar or something like that who can actually win that battle.
And there's like Coach Jim, who like the highest he played was maybe like midget AA, is just yelling, gap, get your gap the whole time. It's like, dude, I'm trying to get the gap here.
Gap up, get your feet moving. Yeah, I will, but he's flying at me. Like, it just, those drills, I still bothers me to this day. And I'll walk by a rink and see it. I'm just slamming on the glass. Like, what are you doing? You're ruining it.
Yeah, the worst. Defensemen line up, top of the circles, forwards at the hash, one-on-one, backwards to the red line. You're like, I can't win. It's not possible. It is setting them up for failure. That's exactly what it is. And you're right, in terms of the forwards, like, they just have no remorse for you at all.
They don't care.
They're going to chirp you.
They don't care.
Yeah, you stink. Nice job. Good job.
Yeah.
No
and
chance.
they all love to. They got to whoop it up, and it's a whole big thing. And then you say, "Do it in a game." By the way, you know who else was set up to fail today? You know who was set up to fail today? The guy, the camera guy in Cleveland when they were doing the reveal of their helmet.
Worst day.
Did you see that?
Yes, we saw that. So, for starters, you're in Cleveland. Secondly, you work for the Browns. So, you know, again, it's not the perfect setup to begin with in terms of what you're preparing for as your day is about to begin. You kind of had to believe something was going to go wrong and someone was going to go down. So they were unveiling, I guess, a new helmet. There it is. And for whatever reason, they're down at the lake. And I believe that's Lake Erie. And you can see in the corner there, there's a guy who obviously his job was to get the reverse, you know, iPhone angle, because that looks like it's his phone. That's not a professional cameraman. And he bails and goes overboard and falls right into the lake. And by all accounts, he's okay. But is there anything more Cleveland Browns in the history of like a video like this? I don't think you could encapsulate a team better with their history and what they represent than that story. That guy 100%. Falling head over, you know what, right into Lake Erie.
This is the Brown. This is the poo department all over again. They have this. First of all, it's sponsored by Dude Wipes, so another reference to poo.
Perfect.
And they're going to reveal this helmet, and the guy falls into the lake, and Deshaun Watson's on the PUP list, and it's like this is a precursor to what is happening to the Browns this year. It is going to be a disaster, and this guy falling in the lake is step one of that.
Yeah. And I love that. Is that the mascot who's looking at it? Oh, that's even worse. So put yourself in this guy's shoes, all right? It's the new Alpha Dog alternate helmet. Every team's coming out with it. It's a big production. So you are there, and you're probably miserable anyway because you're thinking, really? Like, this is my job. I got to go down there and get different angles for a helmet that probably no one's really going to care about in the end. Okay, fine. You take one step to the right because probably someone behind the helmet said, no, move. You got to get a better angle than that. And then when you fall in the lake, the first thing you see when you open your eyes and you get up above the water is the hound, like the dog that is the mascot for the team, dancing. Like, look at that guy. That's a mascot right there, staring at the guy as he's floating away in the lake.
He throws on the raft.
Yeah,
he's got the raft.
Oh, my God. Such a Cleveland Browns moment.
You know what he's thinking? He's like, that helmet looks the same as the helmet we've had for the last 100 years. Like, really, is it that much different?
Great point. Like, come out with a white one or something, or, you know, exactly. Like, if it was green, you'd be like, that's a little bit different. I don't really know why, but sure, go for it. What's the difference? How's that the Alpha Dog alternate helmet? How's that? I guess they have a stripe down the middle.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I don't know.
But, yeah, that's similar. The Cleveland Browns for you, man. That is what they're going to bring to the table as an organization.
Falling into the lake after the big reveal.
Just probably snapping. He's probably
sponsored by Dude Wipes.
Dude Wipes. Oh, you got to be like, you know, in a situation like that, the guy probably didn't want to be down there. Someone said, just go down and take a couple pics for social media. Fine, I'll do it. Whatever. He's probably got a date tonight. He's got his ace suit on, and he falls right
Actually,
into the
if they were smart, they should release that footage. Like, they should really lean into it and say, this is all the great footage, and then here's Johnny overboard with his GoPro.
That's a great point. Like, because TMZ is going to get that. Like, that is the live view of him falling into the lake and seeing like the helmet just get further and further away, and the mascot, stick his head over the edge. That's worth a lot of money. I think that would go
do it on the
viral pretty
river?
quickly.
Like, why did they have to do it on the river? Like,
I
why?
think that's all they got, Strud.
Yeah,
I think that's all they got. They got the lake,
right? That's
and they got the rock hall.
I know. But just put it in the middle of the field. Like, does it really have to be? Does it make it more dramatic because it's on the river? It's not like it's on the Thames in London or,
right.
Whatever lake. What are you guys on an ocean or lake?
Yeah, you got Lake Ontario here. That's one of the Great Lakes. It's one of the Great Lakes down there in Cleveland.
Whatever it is, put it. I just don't get why it has to be on the water. Sometimes I think we overthink these things. Just present it. It's a helmet.
Yeah,
right? It's not a new player. It's not
right.
A new
Exactly.
quarterback.
Well, I mean, listen, the Browns they're trying to get a win here. It's such a bad scene consistently for them. And meanwhile, this probably actually did take a lot of time. A lot of people kind of excited about it. Like you said, it's a sponsored event. They're making money off this. And nobody cares about any of that. It's just the guy that went overboard. And what ultimately that video is going to look like if his phone survived. Because that would be the worst part, too. If in the end he doesn't even, his phone dies because it floats away or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't even get the coverage he's supposed to be
It's
supplying.
blowing up. He's getting lots of texts from his buddies.
Oh, huge.
Like those, you would be on that. And, hey, did you see what happened to Frankie? We'd all just be hammering him.
That'd be the funniest thing ever if you knew that guy.
Next time he goes to a party where there's a pool, everyone's handing him a life jacket. Like, please wear the life jacket at all times. Thank you.
Yeah, that guy is not living that down anytime soon. All right, so we've got Dave Naylor coming up a little bit later this afternoon. Not good news for the Argos. Chad Kelly's going to miss another week. They got Winnipeg on Saturday night. Obviously, they've won one game this year, and it's more and more of a struggle. It's a real struggle with the way things ended against Montreal last week and the way Arbuckle played. But Arbuckle's going to start again this week, and who knows when Chad Kelly's going to return. So we'll catch up with the nail gun on that. He's down at Bill's camp. Get an update on the vibe around that team in about 15 minutes. And speaking of vibes, they were immaculate yesterday talking about the Blue Jays. And I'll tell you what, when Davis Schneider, slid into home last night to make it 4-4, my house was going crazy. And at that point, I thought they're going to win the game. Like, they're going to do it again. They're down 3-0 immediately. Chaz Chisholm absolutely destroyed that baseball.
After disparaging him yesterday.
After I disparaged
Hayes
him
yesterday
a
at like 6:05? Like, after Judge.
Chisholm's the guy that's following us. Like, he's not scaring anybody. And he absolutely murdered that baseball.
An hour and a half later, yard.
That was a statement by the All-Star. And listen, they hit home run. They hit 3 home runs last night. And ultimately, that was the story of the game. Scherzer, Bellinger had his number, 2 doubles and a home run. He had nothing on Bellinger. Obviously, the Chisholm home run. And then in the 9th, Rice, gets one on Hoffman. And what stood out to me about the game is you don't overreact. They've won 11 in a row at home. They're still in the driver's seat. They can win the division, or they can win the series tonight. It's going to be tough. Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees and Bassett for the Jays. But what we've been talking about consistently with a week to go up until the trade deadline is what are you going to do with the rotation? What are you going to do with the bullpen? And, Scherzer missed some pitches last night, which he admitted. I thought he grinded pretty well, in between the 1st and 5th inning. I thought he grinded, but still he got hit, and he got hit pretty hard. And when he made mistakes, the Yankees made him pay. And Hoffman's given up 10 home runs this year. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a real Achilles heel for him. Like, and that's why his stats are so bloated, that he gives up home runs. So, can you rely on Scherzer? Obviously, the Eric Lauer conversation, which we talked about. And with Hoffman's going to pitch for you. And he's going to be a guy that Schneider and his staff continue to rely on. They have to, and they will, and I believe they should. But it's an issue. Like, if you're prone to giving up home runs in very, very high-leverage scenarios, that's a concern as you get into August, September, and certainly into the playoffs.
I guess, like, you're okay with your closer being, like, allowing balls in the air because obviously you're looking for pop-outs and things of that nature. But when guys are connecting and going deep, it obviously is worrisome. I think you're still looking at a situation where you need some Scherzer insurance. You can trademark that. Like you need some kind of insurance on that because even if he is feeling great, like it is a little bit of a grind to get through things, and it's an uneasy feeling. Even though Hoffman had been playing better, it's uneasy knowing that if it does get in the air, it's looking like it could go deep. even though you're hoping for a pop-out.
Well, the thing that gets me, Frank, is that if he's your closer, I want to understand the reasoning behind putting him in a situation where it's tied, going into tonight. I guess was Schneider thinking that, okay, he's going to get through these three, then we have the meat of the order, Vladdy and company coming through, and they're going to get it, so that he's kind of preloading him, thinking they'll generate a single run in the bottom half. That's
exactly what he was thinking. Yeah, he's thinking we got to get out of this and give ourselves a chance to win the game. And listen, their bullpen's been taxed. There's only a few guys that they really, really trust, and ultimately I think that's what it came to. And also the Yankees bullpen has been taxed as well. So I think Schneider was thinking, we can get out of this clean. Obviously, we got some big boys coming up. The whole basically 1 through 9, including guys off the bench, are going to give you some confidence if they're in a situation like that in the bottom of the ninth to win it, or at a minimum, you're going to go to extra innings, and you feel okay about that. So I think that's what he was thinking. Like, shorten the game up, get Hoffman out there, get 3 outs, put them in a position to walk it off. And ultimately it didn't happen. They still almost did so in the ninth inning. The bottom of the ninth, Alejandro Kirk had some of the worst at-bats you're ever going to see out of a professional last night.
It was a tough swing and a miss for strike 3.
The 27th out, the third out of the ninth inning was horrendous.
Yeah.
That at-bat was awful, and he had some awful at-bats throughout the game. But, ultimately, you turn the page over, and this is the beauty of winning as many games as they have, battling the way they battled last night, even though they were down 3-0 and 4-1 at one point. Is it's not going to kill the energy in the stadium tonight. It's not going to kill your confidence because you lost one game. The likelihood of beating the Yankees, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a row is obviously highly unlikely. So the Yankees got one off you last night. Circle back, beat their best starter tonight. Max Fried's going to be a real challenge. But the way their bats have been playing and the amount of pop that's been coming out of this lineup, I think you feel confident you can find a way to win tonight.
Yeah, and I think there's still like an element of this team being willing and able to grind and scratch and claw. And I think some of that applies to Vladdy, where Vladdy's not Keegan was tweeting about it last night. That's a good at bat to get the single. I think it was a single, but you're still waiting for Vladdy to really kind of explode. And for a guy that hits the ball as hard as he does, he should be able to get you something when you really need it in that high leverage situation. And if he does that on a more consistent basis, that's the difference between a win and a loss in a game that's 4-4 and you have a chance to put a team away like that.
Yeah, it does come down to the context of the player and the expectation and what the player's capable of in terms of, reviewing a game like last night where Vladdy had a few hits. But you're right, he came up with the bases loaded early in that game, a chance to really break things open, and, chases a pitch he shouldn't have. Later in the game, he had an opportunity to basically close it. Didn't happen. So, yeah, singles are great, getting on base and being patient and taking your pitch and, working the count, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of value in that. Mm-hmm. But I think with him, at some point, because he's capable of doing it, you're waiting for him to get angry up there. You're waiting for him to go up swinging, especially against pitchers like he faced last night. Young guys with no experience that would be intimidated by him. Don't give them anything. Go up there and let them know. If they're going to throw anything over the plate with any pace, especially early in a count like we saw early in the game last night, go get it. Go get it.
Well,
Don't
that
just
kid
try to
was
slap
throwing some
singles
heat.
around.
What Cam Schlittler? He was hitting.
Schlittler could throw.
He was throwing
98 with ease.
Oh yeah,
last night.
Yeah, didn't look cumbersome at all, and he's a big towering guy. But to that point, it's not like Vladdy hasn't seen 98 before.
Exactly.
He's obviously seen that before. He's hit home runs at that, and he should be that presence where a young guy looks at it, and it's probably the same thing when young pitchers have to go against Judge and they get a little bit scared on the mound, and it's that little hesitation can lead to leaving something over the plate that you take advantage of, and it's just that's not happening for Vladdy.
No, it's not. So more on that later this afternoon. Cameron Maven will join us just after 5 o'clock. Richard Griffin coming up later this afternoon on the Blue Jays. Game 3 of their series with the Yankees tonight. Then off to Detroit for 4 starting tomorrow. So a big few days coming up for the Blue Jays as they lose for the first time at home in a long time, basically a month, a calendar month with the All-Star break. So it's been a long time since they left that park with a loss. But try to get back at it tonight. So Griff coming up, Cameron Maven coming up. Dave Naylor will join us. We've got arbitration we're going to play today. We haven't done this in a long time. We'll explain it. We'll get into that in about an hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Yes, she's a 360 all the way around. Yeah, that's how she rolls.
Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Jason Strudwick, Cameron Maben in just over half an hour. Dave Naylor in a few moments. We're talking about the Browns and bit of a debacle, them revealing their new helmet, their alternate helmet, and someone fell over the side of the dock or the ledge and fell into the lake. Not good. But it does actually make me think of the Browns for the first time in a long time, and Shadur Sanders and where his storyline is going to rank in terms of intriguing stories.
Yeah.
I've heard some things about his mini camps and how he looked, and seemingly looked pretty good. I don't know, but I am quite curious about him and how he's going to look, and if he ends up starting games this year, what can he do with that, and how can he possibly redeem himself, considering how crazy that story was at the NFL draft?
Where would he be on their depth chart? Because Watson's hurt. Like, I can't imagine.
Yeah, Watson's
he's starting
done.
the season.
He's not playing.
He's got the Achilles. He's not playing.
He's
right?
done. Yes.
Okay. So where's Sanders?
Well, they drafted a kid ahead of him that plays quarterback, and then they have a couple of veterans there. So I think he's third or fourth right now, which you're not keeping 3 or 4 quarterbacks. I mean, clearly. So I don't really know how that's going to work. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll keep a third quarterback, possibly, but it kind of feels like someone's getting cut.
3 or 4 in Cleveland, though, is like 2 somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it's a practice squad scenario where, is he willing to do that? I'm not sure if he would. How does that work with the rest of the league? How do other people view him? And is someone else going to come in and pluck him? I doubt it, considering he fell through the draft as much as he did. But I'd have to believe he's got to have a great camp. You're a 5th-round pick. You got to have a good camp to make the team, and possibly get some snaps.
He's a player I followed pretty closely last year. I'm a Giants fan, and there was some chatter that they were going to bring him into New York, and I didn't want that for him or for my team, because I think it's hard to be the son of one of the great all-time players. Not only your son, he was also your coach, and there's a lot of hype around that, around him, around Dion, around Shadur, then around the team. And I think it's distracting, and then it overshadows, or sometimes it shines too bright a light on what you are or can be. I think the best thing for him that could honestly happen is to just get buried, whether it's a third string. I don't know, going the practice swing squad is the best. Get third string, just get your reps and just try to hide and build your own thing. Because it's hard, Frankie. Like, you're just, how do you stand on your own, and how good is he?
Well, think about this, right? We all have certain skills, right? As hockey players, we had skills. Football, you're a quarterback, you can sling the ball. But to, command the playbook and the huddle and how you operate that way, that's a big difference. That's big boy stuff in the NFL. That's not just throwing a pass in a controlled scrimmage or a tryout. That's where a young guy like that really has to earn his chops, and it would take a while, I would imagine.
Yeah.
For especially a 5th-round pick. They obviously saw something that made him fall that far.
Well, and you're right about that position being evaluated completely different than any other position. If you're a pass rusher, can you get off the line? Can you beat your one guy you're fighting with, or your 2 guys? And yes, you got to know the playbook to an extent. But if you're a corner, can you cover? Can you keep up with guys? Can you play a nickel? Could you possibly become a safety? Could you maybe someone who can blitz? There's a few different things that come up. But for the most part, it's streamlined to do you have talent? Do you have ability? Can you do it? Quarterback position's completely different. Yes, you got to have the arm. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to know the playbook. But you also got to lead. You got to be able to speak with the media. There's so many different things that come with being that position. Here's a guy that obviously covers the game and knows it very well. CFL, NFL. He's down at Bills camp. Here's Dave Naylor. Now, again, we're stumbling across the Browns because I'm sure you saw the video earlier of them unveiling their alternate helmet, and a staff member fell into the lake, and it's just so typically Cleveland. But then that brought us to the Shadur Sanders conversation, and where he ranks for us in terms of intriguing, training camp stories. Where would that rank for you?
Oh, it's up there. I'm hoping to be in Cleveland 2 weeks from now, make a visit through there, and who knows what will have evolved by the time I get there. And I think there's a few things that play into it besides the dynamic of Shadur and just what happened in the draft. It's the Browns, right, who have now had a 25-year history of an inability to identify a franchise quarterback. Then you throw in all the quarterbacks they've got in the mix, from the kid from Oregon who they took before they took Sanders, to Joe Flacco, and I mean, it's just, you've got so many quarterbacks in camp to kind of shake down. And the Sanders thing is one of the more amazing things I've ever seen. I mean, I was I was at the NFL Combine in February, early March this year, where he was there. I was at his podium performance. I was kind of shocked by it and wondered what NFL teams would think about it. And, it can be a really thin line between, we'd love to have that guy on our team to we wouldn't want that guy on our team. And the quarterback thing, and it's funny because I cover a guy who is, I hesitate to use the word perfect, but when you watch the way Josh Allen conducts himself, whether it's at practice, after practice, with the fans, with the media, he could teach a class on kind of how to lead a team and be that guy. And with Shadur Sanders, when I was at the podium at the Combine, he was talking about, if you don't think he's the best quarterback here, then you're hating on the family name. And I'm like, what? Somebody had a great line about the way Shadur Sanders treated the Combine, the whole pre-draft process, was he treated it like he was on a recruiting trip instead of a job interview. And, if you don't believe in a guy and don't believe your room's going to rally around him and don't believe he can handle the media when things inevitably don't go well and the fans are getting into it, what teams actually see when they start to extrapolate where this could go is they see everybody getting fired. And that's why teams didn't take him. And that's how, when the 3 or 4 teams that were candidates to take him all turned on it, all of a sudden he's a 5th-round pick. Because if you don't want him as your number 1, can this guy be a 2? That's the question. And, the last thing teams want in a number 2 is somebody who's going to attract a lot of attention. And Shadur Sanders, by his nature, is going to do that.
It goes without saying that the Browns are going to be in really tough in the AFC North, but do you think that we see any kind of, changing of positions and jockeying in that division this year?
I mean, it's a weird division because you've got, the Ravens who are kind of like the Bills, right? They are put up great regular season after great regular season. They've got an MVP-worthy quarterback. It's hard to make improvements on the roster, based on what they did a year ago. You just kind of hope for a different result. And then you've got Cincinnati that people are kind of shocked by, have missed the playoffs 2 years in a row because, based on their Super Bowl appearance a few years back, the age of Joe Burrow, them having to Jamar Chase. I mean, Chase Brown has given them a good run game. They've got some horses on defense, and yet this is a team that a little bit gets off to bad starts and then can't get out of its own way. And then you go to the intrigue that is the Steelers. And, the Steelers have been kind of a happily boring team for a long time, right? It's not a team that deals with drama or big personalities that often. They've had, 3 coaches in 50 years. I mean, it's just kind of a model of stability. They never miss the playoffs. And this year, he knows what to expect. So, I don't see Cleveland climbing over any of those teams, but the AFC North is, of its own, pretty intriguing.
With Dave Naylor, and, you mentioned you're down there at Bills camp, and you track them and follow them so closely, and just being around Josh Allen. And he's coming off the MVP last season. He's coming off, another scenario where they get to the playoffs and you know who they're going to play, and it doesn't work out. They can't get through them, and they can't get to the Super Bowl. Does this year feel any different than previous years? Is there more urgency? Do they feel better about their chances? Are they even more hyper-focused on simply finding a way to beat Kansas City? Where do things stand with the Bills?
Well, I think there's been that kind of same sense of, destiny being not far away. I mean, this is my 4th year covering the team, on an every week basis. And the first year that I was on this beat in 2022, they began the season as a Super Bowl favorite. That's 3 years ago.
Right.
So this is not a new feeling in Buffalo. I think the difference, the challenge is this in Buffalo this year. Offensively, can they repeat what they did last year? And I don't just mean the points scored, but also, the historic level of ball security that they were able to pull off. And the consistency on the roster offensively here is incredible. I mean, they had 10 offensive linemen on the roster last year, 5 starters and 5 backups. All 10 are here at training camp. Their 1 and 2 tight ends are the same. All 3 running backs are the same. James Cook was at camp today. He's not doing a hold-in. He was a full participant, even though he's unhappy playing on his rookie contract. The only real changes are, Mac Hollins and Amari Cooper are gone, and they've been replaced by Elijah Moore, and Josh Palmer. And that does provide a different dynamic to the offense because both those guys, particularly Palmer, are separators. They're among the best, Palmer's at least, among the best receivers analytically against man coverage. And the Bills saw a ton of man coverage last year, which suggests that, defenses didn't respect the ability of their receivers to separate. So Josh Palmer wasn't just, the best receiver that the Bills could afford on the market. He has a skill set that they very much need. And it was funny. I talked to Palmer today. He had a great line. Never heard a receiver say this. He said, "I hate being covered." You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I've never heard him say that, right? And because we were talking about his craft and his reputation as a route runner, and he told me this at OTAs, that he thinks running and separation are his best skills, but they're also the things he thinks he can improve upon the most. So he just those are his calling cards. And it was funny at camp today, watching at the end of practice, him and Josh Allen walked off the field together. They stopped before they got to the sidelines, kind of went face to face, and were mimicking some things they've been doing down in a red zone drill. And I asked each of them just kind of what they were talking about. It's just communication stuff, timing, reading body language, signals when you're kind of juking around in the end zone while Josh is doing his thing in the backfield. They were doing a lot of red zone drills today, and that's what training camp is for. But you flip over to the defensive side of the ball, and it's like, holy smokes! Like Max Hairston, their first pick, is taking reps with the first team. T.J. Sanders, who they took with their second pick, is getting reps at defensive tackle. They took 6 of their first 7 draft picks are defensive players. Then they signed Michael Hoyt. Then they signed Larry Ogunjobi. Then they signed Joey Bosa. So there's a lot of players to onboard on the defensive side of the ball. And, and I was asking Brandon Beam today about, that kind of challenge as opposed to the offense, because he was crowing about the continuity on offense. I said, okay, well, how do you get this all into one unit of defense? And ultimately, he said, it's just time on task. And that's why, especially when you've got so many new players on the defensive side of the ball, keeping them healthy through training camp is important, just because you need that time to develop that communication and familiarity and make sure guys know the scheme and all of that. So the offense and defensive side of the ball has been very different for the Bills in terms of where they were a year ago and what they're hoping to achieve this year and how they're hoping to achieve it.
With Dave Naylor, and one of the teams they'll play twice, of course, within their division would be the Miami Dolphins, and it was not a good year for them last season, and it ended with controversy. Tyreek Hill, he didn't play the last week of the year. Then he told reporters, "I need a change. I'm out of here." And all of a sudden, he's not out of there, and he stays in Miami. And Tua spoke on it, I believe, earlier today, if not last night. And here's what the quarterback of the Dolphins, his teammate for the last handful of years, had to say about Tyreek Hill.
I would say we're still continuing to do that. But it's not just with me. It's with a lot of the guys. I'm not the only one that heard that. You guys aren't the only people that heard that. A lot of people that follow football, that follow the Miami Dolphins, that follow Tyreek, that are fans of his, everyone has seen that. So when you say something like that, you don't just come back from that with, hey, my bad. You got to work that relationship up. You got to build everything up again. And, yeah, it's still a work in progress, not just for me, but for everybody. But, like I said, he's working on himself. He's working on the things that he says he wants to get better with and do better on. So that's the first step to me, and so I commend him for doing that.
How does this not turn into a disaster for Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins?
All I can think of, Hayes, is like Hard Knocks is at the Bills, and like did not make a cameo on the show today. Their cameras and crews are just like just everywhere you look. There were bunches of them. Sounds like they should all pack up and go down to Miami.
Yes, get down there for the second episode.
Get down. That's really something. Those are strong comments when you're talking about a quarterback, an established starting quarterback in the National Football League, directing comments about we all can't just say "whoops, my bad," or you can't just say "whoops, my bad" to the the highest paid offensive player besides himself on the team. In fact, I'd have to think about whether he makes more or less than Tua right now, but I don't have to float. Whatever. the point is that, he's one of the highest paid receivers in the league. He's a huge presence in your offense. He's been, a bit of an enigmatic character in his career already. And then you have those comments hanging out. I mean, I feel like the Bills kind of have the luxury that the Patriots had during, for 20 years, was they could kind of count on 5-1 or 6-0 in the division every year. And of course, Buffalo has historically, at least this edition of the Bills, have been historically great against the Miami Dolphins, including, knocking them out of the division title on the last Sunday of the year 2 years ago when they had a 3-game lead with like 5 to play. And, same thing last year was against the Bills where Tua got knocked out by Damar Hamlin. And so, you throw the Jets into the mix, and I think New England will be better. And, they might be the second best team in the division this year. But wow, when your rest of your division is imploding or has a history of implosion, it certainly makes the walk through that division a lot easier. And setting the tone on July the 23rd with that, it should be an interesting year in Miami.
Absolutely. With Dave Naylor, it's been an interesting year for the Argos. 1 win so far. They had it last week in Montreal, and they threw it away late. And now Chad Kelly will not play this Saturday against Winnipeg, and he was down in Buffalo. Like, what's he doing in Buffalo, and what's going on? Like, why should we believe he'll even play next week?
Well, and look, the Argos have been kind of slow playing this all along. Like, they didn't declare him out for week 1 until there were about 5 days left in camp, which, he hadn't been taking team reps at all. It was pretty obvious. And, this is an injury that happened in the Eastern Final last year. It's like that game would have been played about the middle of November. So it's a while ago now. And now that you're getting to the stage of the season where things can be slipping away. The Argos were a 1-win team. And, yeah, they absolutely gave it away last year. That might have been Nick Arbuckle's best game. I guess there's good news that, Nick Arbuckle played fairly well last year. Last week, they owned that game through 3 quarters, and all of a sudden, one thing about Canadian football, when you've got a lead, if your offense stops going, with 2 downs, it's not like you're burning off 3 minutes off the clock on every possession if you go 2 and out. It's more like you're burning off 45 seconds. And that's what happened to the Argos last week. It was just 2 and out, give the ball back, 2 and out, give the ball back, 2 and out, give the ball back, basically in the fourth quarter. But back to the Kelly thing, our information on this, as Farhan Lalji had a conversation yesterday with Ryan Dinwiddie, their head coach, and him and I spoke last night, and, the idea was that Chad was going to be at practice today, might get the majority of first-team reps. They were waiting on some results from some scans that he was doing, and all of a sudden he goes from that to he's not at practice. And I assume it has something to do with the scans or the results of the scans. Again, I'm not up to speed by the hour on this, but I know there were some results from some scans they were looking at, and what I was told on Monday was that Tuesday and Wednesday were going to be important days to determine whether Chad would be starting this week, and obviously he's not. And with each week grows, bigger questions about, whether when he is going to be ready, and whether the Argos are still going to be in a competitive situation by the time that happens.
Yeah, no kidding. That is, I can already picture where that's going. Like, if they keep losing, and the playoffs become further and further away from being a possibility, what do they even do with him? I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. All right, Nailgun, great stuff. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys. Have a great show.
There's Dave Naylor, our TSN football insider. Again, Chad Kelly not playing this weekend. I'm not sure why you would believe he'll play next week. Like Dave just said, like leading up to week 1, they were talking about him as a possibility. It seems like he's just not that close. We'll find out. And they need him, clearly, but is it going to be too far gone? And once he gets back, what can you really expect, considering he's been out all season? All right, Cameron Maven in 15 minutes. Jays Yankees tonight. Arbitration at 5:30. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Cameron Maven will join us in about 10 minutes. Jays Yankees tonight. And after tonight, Jays are off to Detroit to play the Tigers. And the AL Manager of the Year, a lot of talk on that. Could John Schneider possibly get some votes? A.J. Hinch, clearly, is a heavy favorite as it currently stands. But it'll be a fun one again tonight. Dome open, place packed, tons of energy. And it's the only thing going right now because, again, we just talked about the Argos. They've got one win on the season. I don't think people are anticipating them doing much the rest of the year. Toronto FC's been a mess for years.
Since Javinko left. No, they brought in the other crop of Italians. They didn't do anything. And it's been since Javinko left. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Bezbachenko too, right? Like there's a connection, I think, at the top as well, and Javinko. And
they had the Bradley years. Like Bradley came in. That didn't go well.
That was awkward the way Michael Bradley went out. It's too bad. And his dad obviously was.
I was talking about his dad. Like Michael Bradley was great for them. It was Bill, right? Bill Bradley?
Bob Bradley.
Bob.
Yeah, it was. It didn't go well.
No.
It did not go well. But it was awkward also because Michael wasn't the same player he was. And yet, I think there was probably some friction in the room a little bit. The guy's dad's the head coach. It's a professional team. It's got to be a little bit awkward, and I'm sure it was. Also, we've got our Final Four now. We're down to our Final Four, top 25, or the athlete of the year, the most valuable athlete of the past 25 years in Toronto sports. So we're down to the Final Four. We'll reveal that. We'll get into it a little bit later this afternoon as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jason Strudwick, Frankie Corrado. Little arbitration later this hour. There's a couple of good ones in there for you, Strud. You're really going to like this one. Really like it. And I can't wait to see how you're going to answer it.
That's got to be some 97 stuff right there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know it. As soon as it's anything, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Is he going to sign? If he doesn't sign, where is he going, right?
Yep, it's coming up in about a half an hour. So you're going to have to represent, because I got an answer for it. Like, for me, it's very clear-cut, I think, how I'd answer it. I'm curious how you're going to answer it. We'll get to that a little bit later on. And Cameron Maven coming up. As for McDavid, like, nothing yet. Not that there's a timeline. They don't play for a couple of months. Obviously, camps don't open for like 6 weeks. But is it like a daily conversation out there? When's he going to sign an extension or what?
You know what? It's funny. I don't, I'm a man of the people. I'm out there and mixing it up, and I really don't get the question asked very often. I think the fact that Leon Draisaitl has signed already, I think that I can't believe that two good buddies wouldn't have talked about what their plans are. So I think that gives comfort to the fans.
I think that's reasonable. All right, like, they're with each other all the time. They're in Ontario all summer. They're up in Muskoka, and they're playing men's league games in
they're at a wedding
Newmarket
together.
They're doing everything.
Warren Fogel's wedding.
Plus,
their
their wives are like best friends. Like, they go way back. They're obviously very tight. But I guess my question to whoever would be, like, if McDavid signed a 3 or 4 year deal, that would give them, over 10 years of playing together. Would Draisaitl look at that and say, you know what, that's fair. You kind of met me halfway, even though I took the full 8 years. We played together a long time. We gave it a legitimate shot, and you've earned the right to take a shorter term deal and see what else is out there if you want to at the end of that. And you wouldn't close the door on Edmonton.
No,
you could just say, like, it's 4 years, and then we'll see.
I mean, to be honest, you look at what Matthew's done in Toronto. He's trying to get the most money he can, and I respect that, and I get that. When you're an elite player, the only risk is injury. And how often do we see a career-ending injury happen to a player? It's pretty rare. So if you want to maximize it, LeBron James done it. Short term, you just keep maxing it out. So, I still feel it'll be a longer deal. If it's only 4 years, that's still 5 more years of him. Doesn't mean he can't stay after that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it pressures organization. I mean, Leon's a pretty good player too. He's arguably one of the top 3 forwards in the NHL.
Oh, I think he absolutely is. I think he's established himself, for me, as the second best player in the game. Benefits greatly from playing with McDavid, but that's a two-way street. McDavid benefits greatly from playing with him as well. Think about how many assists he's picked up where Draisaitl scored in a way that nobody else could score. Like, no one else was going bar down from the goal line, and he found a way to make it work. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if McDavid and when McDavid, because I expect that he will sign an extension there, when that happens, he's got a year left, and then let's say it's 3 or 4 more years. Let's say it's 4. That's 15 years of his career. Like, if he signs an extension, that solidifies, like, he is an Oiler for life. Doesn't mean he'll retire there necessarily. Maybe he goes somewhere else for 4 or 5 years, but it's not going to be a scenario where he spends 10 or 11 in Edmonton and 10 or 11 in New York, and by the end you're like, man, maybe he's more of a Ranger because recency bias. Like, that's not going to happen. And I don't know what that's worth. I don't know if that matters necessarily to fans or to him, but if you play anywhere for 14 or 15 years, that's your team. Yeah. That's what you're known for. And I think that's precisely what's going to happen here.
Yeah. I you know what? I guess the Edmonton thing boils down to a few things. Does he he's been there long enough that he would enjoy playing there. We obviously get that. Like, city, fans, experience, all that. That would be fine. Like, does he see it turning into like a revolving door where, it's players out, players in? And I don't think, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine if you're trying to build something, you don't want too much turnover year after year. And we're living in a world where we're going to have less cap casualties now with the cap going up. Does it become a thing where the guys that came in this year are the guys that are going to be there moving forward? And that's the group that you're going to be, competing with Florida with again year after year. I think he would want to see that and the goaltending. Like how have you not done something to say that, listen, we're willing to take a step forward or even take a risk and upgrade in this department because we think that could be the difference for us.
Well, they did change the goalie coach. And
the goalie coach, yeah.
Yeah, I think
how many games is he going to play this year?
No, hopefully none. But, I think just the approach. You look at some of the work that a guy like Sean Burke did with some of the goalies he worked with, and their approach changed, and they really kind of found another level. So a coach does make a difference at every position, but I think the goalie coach, it's so intimate, and small tweaks can make a big difference. So I'm interested to see what the new goalie coach can do to tweak Stu Skinner.
Yeah, and that is like a side element to all of this, like the discussion that was more happening on the peripheral. But it did seem like when McDavid spoke, to the media before he took off for the summer, he said, as long as, and I'm paraphrasing here, but as long as I feel I can win here,
sure,
I want to be here, And I don't think you can look at anything that's happened in the offseason and say that would make him feel like way more confident today than on June 30th about
or
their
way
chances.
less confident though, Hayes.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not saying it's falling off
either.
a cliff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not like Draisaitl's demanded a trade and you're like, okay, now we're in one or anything like that. That hasn't happened, but they have not made like huge changes that would lead me to believe they're like a better team today than they were a month ago. So is there a chance McDavid is still applying pressure to the front office that, like, I don't care that you change the goalie coach. You better go find a new goalie. Before, out of principle, I'm not signing this until you do something tangibly different with this roster. Like, is that possible? That he's going to hold their feet to the fire?
100%. It could be possible. I mean, I'm not in those conversations, but when I look at teams, I always look at centers, D, and then goalie. The centers are elite, obviously. The D, I think, is an elite group as a whole. And now you've got the goalie. And then I think Skinner, he has another level he can get to. We've seen him at high levels, but I think the challenge for him, guys, is consistency. Being consistent at a higher level all the time. So, maybe they said to him, listen, give us a chance with this new goalie coach. He has some ideas, because there's no way you're hiring a coach without talking a new coach about what he can do with the goaltender. I would adjust this. I would work on these things. Not just like, hey, man, you look like a nice guy. You've had some success. I think there'd be in-depth conversations with what you can do to help this player.
Yeah.
So that's
you have to actually do it, though. Like, there is something to be said for that, Struddy, because I've, like, as being a guy who was, like, shuttled up and down between the minors and the NHL, like, I got to see the different staffs sometimes and how they interacted with the players. And the goalie one is always kind of fascinating because if you're like a healthy scratch type guy, you actually spend a lot of time with the goalie coach. You do. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. You just 100%. Do, because it's like you're going on the ice before, they need volunteers to go shoot some pucks, and you see how they interact. And like, certain goalie coaches have a way of teaching things and communicating and stopping and slowing things down. Like, I remember one goalie coach being like, put the puck exactly at the same spot you just did. And try and score again. And some guys don't do that. Some guys don't want to, mess with the goalie's confidence. But are you better for that or worse for that? Like, I kind of thought the guys that were like, no, expose him again. Do it again. And then those were the goalies that really made a lot of growth. It's just an interesting anecdote. Like, different goalie coaches that I've kind of experienced can get different things or have different connections with those players. Maybe there is something to it, but I think, like, Stuart Skinner has showed that his good game is very good. Like, we saw that in the Dallas series. And I guess if you're looking around the Oilers, Calgary's still not, like, taking a huge step forward. Vancouver's still a lot of question marks. Vegas is the team that, has the chance to make the biggest leap forward because of bringing in Mitch Marner. You still feel confident against Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado. There's a lot of good teams, but I guess the only team around them that really, in my mind, like, took that step forward and said, we're kind of putting more chips in is Vegas. So Edmonton should feel pretty confident against a lot of those teams, whether it's in the Pacific or the Central.
Well, and Strud, you brought this up a lot, that, Marner's a flashy new toy, but there's a reliable toy that's not around anymore, and that's Alex Pietrangelo. which, are they actually better? I don't know. I mean, is a Mitch Marner better than Alex Pietrangelo in terms of wins and losses and morale and importance? I'm not sure he is, in terms of what the Vegas Golden Knights are going to do come playoff time. And there's video of Mitch, in his new gear. Someone sent me something from him. He was skating, I think, up in Vaughan, and he's up in Muskoka. He's working on the new gear, and he's got the gloves and the pants and the helmet, and that's coming, man.
Yeah,
that's what's coming. Good. Like, Mitch is a Vegas Golden Knight. But yeah, I mean, Vegas is a good team anyway, and Marner obviously is a huge get that is going to make them a very good team. But Pietrangelo out is significant. But yeah, I think you bring up an interesting point about dealing with athletes in general, and how like a specific coach, like a goalie coach or a pitching coach or an offensive line coach, like how much of what their role is going to be about the tactics and actually expecting improvement at a professional level, and how much of it is the mental game? Like how much of it is making someone uncomfortable and thinking that you can benefit from that? And that'll be intriguing when we see what happens, in Edmonton in particular, if they come back with the same two guys. And I think we always anticipated one of them would be back, Skinner or Pickard. Probably more likely Pickard, in my opinion. That was my viewpoint, that good backup, reliable guy, really liked guy. But if they're both back and you just have a new goalie coach and that's kind of what you're promoting, how much can reasonably change from a guy who's in his mid-20s and is a professional? Is it all mental? It would seem to be, if we're talking inconsistencies and, riding the wave that is Stuart Skinner.
You know what, Hayes? I think you're right about everything you said there, but I think trust is a huge thing. So when Stu Skinner now, if he truly gives himself up to the new ideas that this goalie coach or any coach would have with a player, and you have to trust him. There has to be some success there. I worked out the same guy for years. I had the same trainer. I felt great. It was working well. Then I came to Edmonton, and there was a different trainer here, and his approach was different. And I remember when he talked to me about it, I'm like, this is insane. There's no way I can do this. He's like, just try it. Just try it. And I did. And it helped my career, I think, last a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And I felt better on the ice for sure. So I trusted him, his credentials, what he'd done. But if you don't trust the guy and you don't give himself up totally to it, I think you're stuck in between what you had done and what you can do. So I think any coach has to get the trust, and this is the same for a head coach, but I think it's more intimate, Frankie, when it's a goalie coach, a strength coach, a skating coach, where it's more one-on-one rather than team-driven like a head coach.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I actually didn't know that you started the Pilates and hot yoga trend in the NHL. I didn't know that was you. Someone had to be the trailblazer.
Yeah. That was part of it, for sure. The hot yoga, it helped me so much. And I think
you were doing recovery
injuries.
days before they were trendy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, my recovery, it's different when you get older. When you're younger in the NHL, your recovery days are just sleeping it off. But as you get older, you start sweating it out, and you're doing yoga. And I honestly, and I know now guys do it all the time, so I'm not reinventing the wheel. But I was one of the first guys who was doing yoga, and it felt so good. And I think it extended my injuries for sure.
Well, it was because injuries. You can only lift so much and get so big, right? Like there's certain guys.
100%.
No, but it used to drive me nuts. Because some guys were like, I can't lift anymore. Like, I'm already too bulky. I'm like, I'm a wet noodle, and I try and lift as much as I can, and I'll never get that way. But one thing that maybe, I don't know how you feel about this story, that might be overlooked with Edmonton is goalie coach coming in. That's great. What about the power play coach leaving? Right? Like, that power play has been very innovative the last few years. And now Glenn Gulletson is moving on, and he's going to – is he going to Dallas? He's going to Dallas.
Dallas.
Right?
Yeah, Dallas.
Goalie's in Dallas. He's back to Dallas.
Yeah, yes.
And so now, like, it's one thing to have all the toys, but you have to know how to use the toys. And I think Gully did a really good job of that. So whoever's going to step in and take over that position, eventually I think it'll get there. But it might be a little bit of a work in progress in understanding just how to utilize everyone properly. Where Gully, like, that was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, so it's a fresh set of eyes. So you're going in there, but you've got to get the respect of those guys. I don't think it's trust so much with a power play like that. They've been amazing. That power play has been the best one for the last 6-7 years. So you have to get the respect of them, and they have to believe in what you're trying to sell them or sell him on doing, which might be a small change. Now you're not going to all of a sudden put
pretty
McDavid
good
on the
players
point
to deal with.
Yeah, and so and then can you get to have 2 power play units, like all those types of things. So this isn't easy for for the new power play coach. It's going to be tricky because those guys will see right through you. If they don't think it's going to work, like, no, that doesn't work. Like, they're not going to – they know what they've done. They've been the best. And arguably, there's been times where they've coached each other and coached themselves up.
Yeah, it's almost like an SNL skit. Like the new power play coach goes in and tries to be a hero and tells McDavid, like, I don't want you circling back and using speed anymore. I need you stopping up at the far blue line, and just to see the reaction.
You're the
it'd actually be a great way to break the ice.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's the stretch guy.
Yeah, you're the stretch guy. I need you as a decoy.
Still.
Yeah, that'd actually be a great way to break the ice. Go in there just first day. Run that tape and just see what the reactions are, and then be like, obviously I'm joking.
The good thing there is you'll go to those guys and be like, what do you like that works? And start with that and kind of show a little, maybe respect is the wrong word, but show a little respect to what they were doing in the past and say, we're gonna continue with what works, and if I see anything that I think could tweak and maybe help us, we'll implement that. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel there, man.
No, I think that one is kind of whatever. Try to figure out what Gulutzan was doing. Basically plagiarize. It's worked so well in the past. All right, we think we're going to catch up with Cameron Maven, get his take on Jays Yankees tonight, his take on Vladdy, and power over just production, like 3 singles last night. But it does seem like everyone's kind of on the edge of their seat saying, when is the power going to arrive for Vladdy? Jeff Hoffman gives up his 10th home run on the season last night. What's that like if you're in the clubhouse and you got a closer that's prone to doing that? He's done it a lot this year. So catch up with Cameron Maven. We'll get to arbitration a little bit later this afternoon. Richard Griffin coming up as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, arbitration a little bit later this afternoon. Richard Griffin on Jays Yankees tonight. Game 3 of the series. Listen, it was a gritty performance by the Jays last night, but equally as gritty by the Yankees. Ben Rice ends up hitting a home run last night in the 9th. That's the 10th home run Hoffman's given up this year. Jays lose 5-4. That ends their streak of 11 straight home wins, which dates back to last month. But you still have an opportunity to win the series tonight. You obviously swept the Yankees a couple of weeks ago in 4 straight down at the Dome before you head off to Detroit tomorrow. So a big one this evening. Bassett on the mound for the Jays. Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees. Here's a guy that knows the Yankees well, knows baseball incredibly well from foul territory, longtime MLBer himself, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Here's Cameron Maven. How you doing, Cameron?
Guys, I woke up today with one more family member added addition. My wife just gave birth to our 4th kid, so it's been a good day. And I get to talk a little baseball. So that's the only reason I'm not on the Zoom right now, because the service at the hospital has been a little shoddy, as normally it is at an airport, hospitals. Yeah. I'm sure if you've been around a correctional facility, a school, you know how it goes.
I love it. Well, for starters, congratulations to you and the whole family. That's amazing.
What a pro.
Thank you.
And that is awesome that you're still willing to come on with us. You obviously love baseball, man. It's a beautiful thing. We love that you're finding time for us. Thank you so much.
It couldn't have worked out better, man. My wife is napping. I did a little foul territory episode earlier. I live in a place where it's a lot of family members, a lot of help. And, it's like that. First kid, it would have never happened. 4th kid, she's like, go, just go. Go talk baseball. We're good. Just make sure your ass is back here in a little bit. So
I love it. That's exactly what
it's
it
perfect.
Is. That's beautiful. Strud, you can attest to that. You got a lot of kids out there. You know what it's like, right? Early on, it's like, okay. Get to 3, 4, it's a very different story.
No. Where are they? Where is he? Like, I didn't know where the 3rd or 4th one is. So, I said, well, congrats. Crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, we're excited up here in Toronto, obviously, because of the way the Jays have been playing. And, they end up obviously losing last night. The Yankees, they hit a lot of home runs. They hit 3 last night. But, I guess we'll begin with just the general question of your perception of the Jays and how much it's changed today compared to a month ago, 2-3 months ago. How good do you think these Blue Jays really are?
You know what? This is I've talked about it probably about a week or 2 ago. And one thing I'm big on, and always, since I've been in the media side, I stand on this. I say there's no stat for character and chemistry. And I think it's undoubtedly so that the talent has been there when you talk about the Blue Jays. And honestly, them trying. I mean, I think if you look at the history of them the last 10 years, they went out and they tried to get arms. They tried to add bullpen pieces. They've got young, amazing prospects. But this is the first year and probably the last 4 to 5 years, and going back to like Teoscar, Lourdes Gurriel, some of those key pieces that I think they undervalued the character and the chemistry that they have with the team. This is the first time in a while where they look together. Like, guys genuinely look like they want to see their teammate succeed as much as themselves. And that's something that there's no stat for. So that's one thing that I really do like. And then you factor in the talent. And then my guy, George Springer is having a resurgent year this year, which I'm so happy for him because he's a consummate professional. I know he's, the last 2 years probably haven't been what George wants, but I know he's always going to stand in front of the mic, stand in front of his locker, answer questions like a pro. And now he's getting rewarded for, the professional that he is. But, it's good to see these guys, Bo and Vladdy, they're going to do what they're going to do. And I still don't believe they've got hot yet. And I love the young pieces around them. But like anything else, I think they need one more reliable, starter. I love Max Scherzer. I love his competitive fortitude. I know he's dealing with some, has been dealing with some nerve stuff. But at the end of the day, Father Time catches up with everybody, and the stuff just isn't what it used to be. And you can just tell. You can just see that dash from guys. And he pitched well today. Yesterday he competed, which I love the effort. But I think they need one more starting piece. And of course, we can be Captain Obvious and say everybody needs bullpen help, right? Especially you talked about Hoffman giving up his 10th. Homer, being in that back end role, that can't continue to happen. So, back end pieces, but I would love to see like a Freddie Peralta. I don't know if the Milwaukee Brewers are going anywhere right now because I think they're looking like they can win that division. But there's some guys out there, Sandy Alcantara, Seth Lugo has been great. Can they get something that old Zach Gallion? So there's some things I like what I'm seeing overall. Right now, it's a huge series, and they're playing well.
Cameron, you touched on some of the vets and what you've seen from them. Of the younger players or kind of less tenured MLB players on the Blue Jays, which one do you think has the greatest upside, short and long term?
I'm sorry, you look again that hospital
cutting out on you.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi cut out on me for a second. Say that again.
Yeah, just of the young players on the Blue Jays that are haven't been in the league for a long time. Which ones do you think have the biggest upside?
Well, I'm gonna tell you who I have fell in love with watching his approach, and it's just so effortless. Is Loper Fido. First off, I'm a fan of the big athlete, 6'2", 215, 220. But man, his at bats he's a guy that just screams, get him at bats. You know what I mean? It's something about him, something that's quietly just dangerous that I really like, especially in that new ballpark with the dimensions that are there. I love the way Loper Fido swings the bat. I really, really do.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. Addison Barger's getting a lot of love up here. Like he had a couple.
I know, and he's amazing. And according to his teammates, when you listen to interviews, I love it. I'm doing my homework on all of these teams, especially AL East, because I think it's one of the more fun divisions to cover in baseball. But the thing you hear about him is just his personality. Like glue guys matter, right? Like so. Not undervaluing those type of guys, But, again, he's been great, and everybody talks about him. So I want to mention the guy that I think quietly, and, again, maybe I'm wrong, but something about Loper Fido, man.
I like it.
Yeah. How much love do you think John Schneider should be getting for AL Manager of the Year?
I mean, why not? I mean, you look at how the Yankees started off, and most of us baseball people know that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And he's quietly just taken so much flack over the years. And, I'm a fan. I'm a little bit biased. His brother's sponsoring my travel ball organization, Emery Glove Company, so let me give them a plug. But I'm a fan of John Schneider. I like him because but I always talk about this. Another thing that goes unseen. And you guys are hockey guys, and you guys played on teams, and you guys know at the end of the day, when you wake up before you leave to go to the arena, it matters when you have a manager, a coach, somebody that you're like, dude, I can't wait to go play for that guy. Like, that guy's got my back. He's going to communicate. He's going to keep it as honest as you possibly can. And it seems like the guys enjoy playing for him, and I think that's the reason why he is still there right now.
I think you're absolutely right. He's obviously got everyone kind of moving in the right direction, and it's uber positive right now around this team with Cameron Maven. Now, as for the Vladdy Guerrero story, and you mentioned him, Vladdy and Bo, they haven't really taken off yet. Bo's been very, very clutch all season. His numbers have been great with runners in scoring position. And Vladdy, like last night's a great example of what we keep talking about up here. Like he had 3 singles. His approach at the plate is going to be very professional. He's going to work the count. He's going to force you to get him out. Yet, he's got 13 home runs on the year, and he had a great opportunity early in the game last night. Bases loaded. He goes and chases a pitch. And, I'm curious how you evaluate Vladdy, from your perspective as a baseball player. The value of hitting for average and getting on base, but also pairing that from a perspective of you make so much money and you're capable of being more aggressive and hitting for more power. How do you view what Vladdy represents and what he should be doing moving forward?
Yeah, it's a great question, and honestly, I'm gonna give you my opinion, and there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. But one way I look at it is it's a couple ways guys can go when they get that much money. They can either check out, they can get really complacent, and I call it the cool really sets in, right? Instead of leaving the cool shit at the door before you come in the room.
Yep.
Like being cool when we grew up was like kicking somebody's butt, So a couple of things happen. You can get either really complacent or some ego can set in and say, okay, some pride can set in and say, hey, I want to earn this contract. And when you watch Vladdy, one thing you see him continue to do is compete his butt off, right? And this is what we can't remember. It's not his fault, but it is his fault to the extent that he got paid all that money. Maybe it's some of the Soto's fault. baseball is really freaking hard, right? So with that said, also, too, I think you got to look at it like this. Yes, you would love to see Vladdy, carrying the whole freight, right? Of course you would. He's getting paid to do that. But the position that they're in, I need Vladdy. One, we need to get to October, and then that's when I need all that money to show up, right? Like now we're in a point where you got your money. That's fine. Now we do need you to do some things that's going to help us get into October. But now when we get to October, like you and I don't want to we're talking Blue Jays, but I want to bring up Yankees. You saw how disappointed the Yankees fans were in Aaron Judge, and nobody talked about the regular season. They're like, "Yo, what about the postseason, my guy?" You know what I mean? So I think there comes a point where with this Vladdy deal, it's, hey, yes, do what you need to do to get us there. If it's not 40 and 100, and we get there, now I need that type of production in the playoff. I need that special type of contract production, so that's how I look at it when it comes to a guy who's got his money. You know what I mean? Let's get there, but when we get there, now we need you to show up and show out.
Recently, the Jays have had a really good success against the Yankees. So what have you seen from the Yankees that they haven't been doing or been unable to do versus the Jays?
Well, listen, it's a little bit and a lot of the same old things we've seen from the Yankees. We saw it last night. They win games via the homer. They still have a tough time manufacturing runs. They don't play the best defense at times. This is probably the most suspect, even when you talk about Rodon and Free, how good they've been, that their rotation has been. You got young guys in New York learning at the big league level. That's hard to do. I don't care how good you're doing in AAA, how good the stuff is. It's a different beast than the AL East. And I just think I think right now is when you're going to see some teams' holes really start to show up, right? So I think the Yankees, you're hearing about them being all in on Eugenio Suarez. I think they understand that glove may not be the best, but that bat plays. So again, they've got holes, and this is also too why it's important to go, and it goes back to, I know it's a marathon, not a sprint, but it also gets fast really late, and it's also important to start off really hot. You know what I mean? Because and now the Yankees are where they still are, even with the baseball that they played.
It had been a little bit of a lull out west for the Dodgers, 3-7 in their last 10, but all of a sudden Shohei's now hit home runs in 5 straight games. Like, is that one of those things with that team where it's just, kind of wake me up at a certain point of the season, and then we'll turn things on, and then we'll be ready to go?
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. And I talked about this earlier to a buddy of mine. We talked, the Dodgers are struggling, and they've got like 15 guys on a 60-day, and this and that. And it's like, if you look at it, you can look at it a lot of ways. Some guys on a 60-day, but they should be coming back when the Dodgers need them. And it's kind of the same example for the Dodgers now at this point. Like, the Dodgers, yesterday want to be, win the division. Of course, everybody wants to win the division. But again, they're looking at the bigger picture. We just need to get into October with what we do have. Glass now starting today, right? So, okay, here comes a acquisition at the trade line right now. Glass now Glass now is working. Snell's working his way back. Suzuki's working his way back. You got guys working their way back. So the Dodgers are just, for me, and again, they're still in first place. Like, we talk about how bad they've been. They're still, I think, 3 games up in the division. So for me, they're just a team that they're just treading water, like you said. Just get us to where we need to be, and hopefully all that money we spent, shows its beautiful face.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like, even Dave Roberts said he hopes this is rock bottom for the Dodgers.
Absolutely.
And, he admitted it's ugly. It's like, and he's talking about the fundamentals. Like, they're just playing some stupid baseball that, that's got to bother a manager, especially a winning manager, when he knows what you're capable
Absolutely.
of. Right? Like, when the manager's saying this is ugly, like, he's got to be saying it way worse and way louder with way more swearing in the background of the players, right?
Absolutely. And then let's remember, too, Mookie Betts is probably having the worst season of his career right now.
Right. Yeah, that's big. That is significant. And you got to believe that'll turn around.
That's huge. Exactly. Like, that's huge. So, again, if this is rock bottom, how many teams can say we're at rock bottom and we're still 3 games up on the division? I mean, It's a good place to be, especially when you look, again, what we say, look at the back of the baseball card. I mean, usually Teoscar Hernandez has struggled since his injury. You know what I mean? But usually you expect those guys to show up when it counts, and I think that's how the Dodgers are looking at it.
Absolutely, as they should be. He is Cameron Maven, longtime MLBer. You can catch him on Foul Territory. It's great catching up with you. And again, congrats to you, the family, everyone. Hopefully everyone's happy, healthy, and all that, makes it home safe. Thanks for doing this, Cameron. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys, man. Keep killing it, fellas. I appreciate you having me on always.
You got it. Cameron Maven. That's awesome. Just had his wife had his fourth child.
Fourth kid.
Yeah,
Still
coming
working.
on, talking about Joey Luperfido after a fourth kid.
Like he knows what happened in the game last night.
He's like, man, you got
just
to
had
get
his
out. They
fourth
hit
kid.
homers. That's what
When
the
do
Yankees do.
Like, if you have 4 kids, when do you sleep? Do you just not sleep for 10 years of your life, or what? Or like, I don't get that.
I've only got 3, and I can say those first 5 years, like we had 3 and 22 months, and like it was just I don't remember anything. I remember my buddies saying, "Do you want to go out?" No, I don't. I just want to sleep. I don't know when I'm going to get to sleep, but I'm going to try to get a few hours in here. But 4, oh man, that's a lot to deal with.
We're like grinding. We have the twins, and we're grinding in like the 16-month kind of sleep regression thing right now, where we thought we had a good groove going, and now they just wake up at like 1, quarter to 1,
tough.
and they don't go back down till like 4.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do. You rock them, you change them, you do this, you do that, and I'm like, you're gonna do that 4 times? Oh my
absolutely.
God.
And I hate to be the one that's telling you this, Frankie, but that stage you're in might go on for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they just wake up and it's like, oh, man, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Because the sleeping, you just don't know. Like, some kids sleep all night. Some kids just wake up. Some are soft sleepers, deep sleepers. That's got to be something, man. Like,
Dude, you got to see the operation we have right now. Like, we're trying to get, like, the temperature control in the bedroom perfect. The humidity's got to be on the Dyson perfect. And then, like, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll see it's like, oh, my God, it's down to 72 in there. I got to turn the AC off because it's got to get up to 74, because if it gets to 71, someone's waking up. Like, it's crazy what's going on.
Man. And it's amazing.
And you think anyone did that for us growing up?
No,
it was just like, put the kid in the room and let the kid sleep.
There was nothing like it at all, obviously, in our generation when we were growing up. But the most amazing thing, and we've all experienced this, is when you get blamed for the kid waking up, and it's like, well, what did I do? I was downstairs and TV's too loud, or you opened something that had a little bit of a sound, and that's what woke them up.
The crunch on that salt and vinegar.
That's
Miss
a big one. The bag, the chips. Like, if you're eating chips obnoxiously loud and one of the kids wakes up, you are going to hear about that. Like 100%.
Where's your position on white noise? Like, we have fans in the kids' room, and we used to take them everywhere, right? So I always slept with the fan in my room, just to kind of just to kind of have something to dull the noise.
Yeah.
So we did it. Our kids can literally sleep anywhere. Like, we'll drop them in and we put the fan, they're out. My oldest son is like, I barely got the fan. It's like a teaser. Bang, he's out. And
that's perfect.
So the white noise, man, you might want to get into a fan. Is so nice to have.
No,
I like that idea.
We got the white noise. Don't worry. It's
okay.
The volume level has to be at 41 on the white noise.
41?
If it gets up to 44 or if it's down to 38, it's not working.
It's an exact science.
It's crazy what's going on.
You have to know these
here,
kind
man.
of things.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Richard
love the
Griffin.
white noise, though.
I'm a
it.
huge proponent of a white noise
Yeah.
personally, man. I can rock a white noise with the best of them. Richard Griffin coming up. Arbitration still to come as well. Best bets in about an hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Now, is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for them. It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
Overdrive, arbitration.
I've been wanting a piece of them for years.
You think we got a case?
Your face is my case.
All right, here we go. A little arbitration. We'll, I think, carry this over a couple of different times over the next hour, hour and a half. Richard Griffin in 20 minutes. I don't know if you played this before, either of you guys, Struddy or
First
Frankie.
time.
First time. This is very, very important stuff. All right, this is hard-hitting, basically journalism, certainly hard-hitting analysis. We expect you to take it very seriously. So there's going to be scenarios that play out, and you can either take it or leave it. All right, it's not overly complicated, so I don't think I really have to flush this out too much. You guys ready to go here?
Good to go.
Let's go.
Okay,
buddy.
let's begin here with an Oilers one. This one's for you, Struddy. But I'm going to answer too. I have a very clear-cut answer on this. I'm curious how you stand, and Frankie. The Oilers step into arbitration, and they are awarded a Stanley Cup next season. But McDavid will be leaving in free agency right afterwards. Do you take it or leave it?
Man, I would take it. And on the way out, you thank him for everything he's done. One of the greatest Oilers of all time. And thanks for what you've done. And we're sad to see you leave, but you did what you set out to do. So, thank you.
I hope this doesn't skew your answer, Hayes, but I would also take it if I was the Edmonton Oilers, because I think the worry is, with a lot of these things, your star player is leaving. Are you ever going to win without your star player? Well, the Oilers would have won a Stanley Cup, and they're still going to have a top-5 player in the NHL in Leon Draisaitl, and one of the better offensive defensemen in the league in Evan Bouchard. So there's still the entertainment value, the business, economics of it, and still a very good team. And it's, Struddy's right. You would thank Connor McDavid for everything he did, service to the organization, bring another Stanley Cup, and on you go. And I think people would be able to live with that because you delivered on what you set out to do.
Yeah, you take this 10 days out of 10, man. You do not mess with a Stanley Cup, right? Like, as much as you love any individual player, you always put the team success first, and you take advantage if you can. Like, if you have it. I would apply the same thing to the Maple Leafs. They win a Stanley Cup, but everyone leaves, and they're the worst team in the league for the next 10 years. Take it. Done. Thank you. Like, just win one. It's so tough to do. Everything is so fickle, and someone could get injured next year, and so there's no guarantees. You get the chance to win. Yes, it would kind of suck. It wouldn't be exactly like Kawhi winning and leaving because McDavid had been there for a decade, obviously by then. But you take it, man. Like, there'd be nothing better than that. Just to see McDavid win, bring it back to Edmonton, fulfill that prophecy, and you let bygones be bygones, like you said. Thanks for everything. See you later. It's all good. You take that every day of the week. All right, Austin Matthews steps into arbitration. He is offered or awarded 45 goals next season. Does he take it or leave it?
I guess we were talking about this the other day, and I was like, I think Mitch Marner's more likely to hit 100 points than Austin Matthews is to hit 50 goals. I still would leave it if I'm Austin Matthews. Just because I think Marner's more likely to hit 100 points, that doesn't mean Austin Matthews should just say, I'm willing to take 45 goals. He's, arguably the best goal scorer in the game. He has been. From the time he's stepped into the league to now, he has been the best goal scorer, especially at 5-on-5. Even though he doesn't have Mitch Marner, he can be a different type of goal scorer this year. He can prove that he can do it differently, where it's not necessarily, camping out in the higher ice, waiting for Marner to thread something to him. He can be the one that is a little more of a self-driven goal scorer. So, 45 is, by his standards, maybe on the lower side, although it would be an upgrade considering what he had last year. I still think Austin Matthews has his sights set on scoring more than 45, even without Mitch Marner.
Sprinting up to take this. I'm running, blowing my hamstring out to get this if I'm Austin Matthews. Wow. Marner's not going to be there. I'm still not sure who's going to be playing in his spot. Maybe you two guys have a crystal ball.
No one really knows right now.
Many names bandied about.
Yep.
So it's a little bit harder. Now you got Nyes on the other side. Yeah, Nyes is a good player. He's not the same as Marner. So he's not going to be finding the puck out to him all the time. So I think it'll be a little harder. The power play, another situation where Marner was massively involved in that. So now, who's running all that back there? Is it Morgan Riley, who has run a power play before? So I think there's so many wild cards right now. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm sprinting to take those 45 and put them in my man purse as I walk out of there.
Yeah, well, 45 is a lot of goals, man. And 45 would likely indicate he's healthy, right? Like likely indicate he played 75 games and was healthy. And there's definitely, a bonus in that. But I'm leaving it because, I lean more towards the mentality that Frankie was pointing to. Like, he is the best goal scorer in the game. And prior to last year, it was not close. Like, he had 69 the year before. No one, like, you adjust for errors. That was one of the 4 or 5 greatest goal-scoring seasons of all time. He's 27, 28. I'm putting it on the line that he can blow past that. I'm putting it on the line and putting on his shoulders saying, 45 would be almost a concession, which is crazy. And it speaks to how great he is at goal scoring. And no question, there's got to be some fear there, fear of the unknown, not having Marner. First time in his career, he won't have him, right? Didn't play with him every shift of his career. But first time in 9 seasons, Marner will not be around. Where if you get into a slump, it was always throw Marner with him, get him out of it, and let's see what goes here. That is not available anymore. But he's still in his prime. The equivalent with, let's say, McDavid would be like, would you take 110 points, right? No, I wouldn't. I'd let him try to chase 140 or 150. Maybe he won't get it. But I'm not putting a muzzle on the best point getter in the league. I'm not putting a muzzle on the best goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
I'm letting him go chase more.
The Marner thing is interesting because remember when Babcock was the coach, it was Matthews Nylander. Right, like Marner was basically attached to Tavares. He didn't really have he didn't have Matthews and Marner together very often. And in those years, so to start, Matthews went 40 and 82, 34 and 62, 37 and 68, and then the year that Keefe took over, 47 and 70. The first year that Keefe was starting from scratch, I guess, was the bubble year, the 52 game year, 41 and 52 that year. 60 and 73 the year after. Then he has the down year with 40, and then 69 and 81. So I think that the Marner thing is going to be very real. Like his and I think part of that is Matthews got older, got stronger, figured out the league, figured out how to score, but it does coincide with him playing with Mitch Marner. But to your point, Hayes, like if you're the best, you're the best. Like Ovi just had an unbelievable year with Dylan Strome. Actually, an unbelievable year and a half scoring goals because the second half of 2 years ago, it wasn't Backstrom that was feeding him. So I think there's something to be said for like this guy being able to do it not on his own, but without Mitch Marner. And he still was fairly successful as a younger player with Nylander basically on his side most of the time.
Yep, for sure. Okay, moving on here. Scotty Scheffler steps into the arbitration room, and he is awarded the U.S. Open next year, which will complete the career Grand Slam. But in doing so, he will not win any other majors the rest of his career. Does he take it or leave it?
100% takes it. He doesn't care. Winning another Masters or a PGA or an Open, he's done it. He did it. Doesn't do it for him anymore. Maybe just to finish the Slam and say, I accomplished that, and then spend some time at home and find your purpose in life. Like, he kind of laid it all on the line. I don't think winning, 4, 5, 6 of the same major is something that he really cares about.
I'm with you. I think you take it. My concern for Scotty, I voiced it here before. I think that, like we've seen with other players, Murray and Jordan Spieth, he drops off after he accomplishes that. So Tiger was unique, wired differently than all these other guys, and I think that he will get it and he will drop off like others we've seen before.
That's what it comes. Like I think Scheffler would take that. I think he'd be like, I'll take the U.S. Open. That's 5 majors, career Slam, couple of players. All this money, all this adulation, you win the career Slam, that launches you into a top 10, 12, 15 player all time. But, I would like to believe the competitor, like I guess I'd put myself in his shoes, which is clearly impossible, but you're at the height of your game. Like you're crushing everybody else. It's kind of like what we just said about Matthews. Like I would leave it because I wouldn't want to just end the journey there. Like he's even without this being awarded to him, he's probably going to go out and win the U.S. Open anyway. And he might win the Masters before he gets there, and maybe the PGA. And then all of a sudden you're talking 7, 8 majors. And then you're talking about a guy that maybe can get into the top 5 all time. You know, could be a Mount Rushmore golfer. Again, I don't know if it matters to him, but I wouldn't want to just accept I'm getting the 1, the 5th, the very important one, U.S. Open, career slam, close the loop. All that kind of stuff matters a lot. But it just feels like it's almost inevitable that he's going to do that anyway. So why not just tack on more Masters and more PGAs and more Open Championships, try to get to double digits and just keep building on this incredible legacy he already has. More arbitration into the next hour. Richard Griffin will join us. Best Bets coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
AutoTrader has the most cars.
I knew they had a lot of cars, but I didn't know they had the most cars.
I'm literally on every night because you never know when a deal can just like pop up.
Everything is there. You'll always find what you're looking for with AutoTrader. The answer is AutoTrader.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Final hour OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Richard Griffin coming up in a few moments. Arbitration will be continued a little bit later on. The most valuable Toronto athlete of the last 25 years. We'll get down to the finals. Right, we're into the Final Four here, Strud.
Did Marner make it? He didn't make it from the first day.
Just missed out. Missed out. But he intends on being one of the most valuable Vegas athletes of all time. I can guarantee you that. Right?
It's crazy we laugh, but they've had so much success already. Like,
yeah,
it's nuts. Like, yeah, it's not a rich history, but when it's all said and done, they've been to the finals in their first year. They've won a cup. Like, what a machine they built right out of the gate.
Pretty good run.
Incredible.
Yeah. Only competing with an NFL team as of now. Soon, like a baseball team will get there, but it's the Athletics, and they stink. And we think the NBA will go there eventually, but we don't have a timeline on it. So
that'll be cool, man. If an NBA team goes to Vegas, because all these in-game experiences are different between hockey, football, baseball, basketball. But basketball games are already nightclub-esque, at times. Like, it can really put a lot of production into it. And then you add, like, the Vegas flair, and whoever can orchestrate that over there, that's going to be, like, next-level stuff when that eventually happens.
Like, think of the studs that'll be courtside. Right,
oh, yeah.
Celebrities and like it'd be really like when there was Hayes and Noodles at the court side
Hayes
of the
and
Raptors.
Noodles,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. That's right.
Was it you two? It was you two, right?
Yeah, it was Noodles and I. We caused the scene. Austin Matthews was there that night. No one cared about him. It was more about Noodles and I.
Did you guys dap him up? Hey, what's up?
We did the little
we
did a little head nod walk by, and he was like, "Man, they got better seats than I do." And I said, "Yeah, Noodles is a heavy hitter." Noodles is a heavy hitter. In
he
this
is,
town.
man. Did you see that picture of him and Ozzy Osbourne yesterday?
Yes, with the he had the tinted hair going, like he had the frosted, not tips. It wasn't the tips. It was the kind of blended frosted hair, which may have been what the Flames were doing. Maybe it was a playoff thing, or maybe it was just him branching out. I don't know.
And Ozzy looks like he's half dead in that picture.
That's right. Yeah. That's 22 years ago. Look at Ozzy.
There.
So does Noodles' hair, though.
Look at the shirt on Noodles. Is that a shark? Is that a shark on his shirt?
I don't know. It's a body outline. I don't know what. He had so many. He got this tattoo, and it wasn't a good tattoo. And then he covered it up with another worse tattoo. I'm like, at some point, just stop with the tattoos. Like, you can get it removed, right? You can get a tattoo, you can get it bad. And my wife had one removed, and it hurts. It hurts a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And he just said, look, I fixed it. I'm like, fixed it? It's now a bigger, worse tattoo than he had in the first place. Like, it's unbelievable.
That's trouble, man. When you try to double down, like you don't just, pick up your chips and say, I lost, I'm just going to get out of here. When you just keep pushing or go back to the ATM with a tattoo as well, you get the wrong tattoo artist or the wrong vision or no communication.
That's like the poo, that's the poo department at the TTC all over again.
Right.
Like with you getting a tattoo, you gotta operate under the premise that this is permanent. And you love this, and you want to look at it every day, and you want everyone who's ever going to see you to look at it and think, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
You can't go, poo operation on that.
No
way,
can't.
man.
It's bad. Like,
Can't.
did the guy do it in the dark? Did he have eye problems? Was there an onion there? His eyes were watering. Like, it was such a bad tattoo. You ask him about it. It's on his back, on his shoulder blade. It was hard to tell where his shoulder blade are because he's a goalie, not a lot of muscle mass there. Yeah, it's just like.
Is it like a last name? He got his last name. I've seen that a lot, and it's like, I get you got your last name. Are you gonna forget or something? Is it like so someone can ID you if they find you in a ditch? Like what?
Oh,
what is the purpose of that? It's good. It's a good question.
Yeah, it was like, the original tattoo, I think it was supposed to be like a bird or something, and it didn't work out. It looked like, I don't know what, a seal. Then he put this huge circle. It was like a black circle, but there was some writing in there, but you couldn't see it. Like, it was so bad, and we'd all like, what are you doing? Why are you getting these tattoos? Oh, no, it covered up the bad one. I'm like, well, what's going to cover up this? You know what? It's your shirt. That's why he never takes his shirt off at the beach. He walks around in his shirt, or doesn't even go to the beach now.
Yeah,
right?
well, he hates the beach. He does, like, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of like natural bodies of water, Noodles just hates water, period.
No, sand, water,
anything.
Bugs,
and
outside.
He has he owns a pool and he doesn't use it or anything.
No, like total, it's like 2.5. Like I'd bet the under. How many times he's ever been in that thing?
No,
I bet that he's been in it just to do like water rehab stuff, like hips or back, just a little light movement in the pool.
But I'm not sure he cares about that anymore.
Functional movement. I played with a guy that had this big tattoo all the way across his chest, and it was like a saying, right? Like, I can't even remember. It was like, all is possible to him who believeth. Something like that. And you know where I'm going with this. Believeth was spelt wrong.
Of course.
They mixed up the I and the E.
No. Of course.
So this guy had to live with a tattoo that was spelt wrong. And I'm actually pretty sure he got like a significant discount for it being spelled wrong.
Yeah. That's like, how do you challenge something like that with a tattoo artist where it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? It's already been done. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, like I'm calling, I want to dispute a bill with a tattoo artist. You know, you charge me and you actually, spelt the thing wrong.
Check the spelling, man. Check the spelling.
Well, that's like, don't you stand in the mirror, you look at it, and you're like, is that the mirror telling me the I and the E are flipped, or what is going on here?
I think any spelling of anything is, you're just playing a dangerous game.
100%.
Like, it's a dangerous game.
That's the universe telling you shouldn't have got the tattoo.
Yes.
That's what I think it is.
Absolutely. Like the one of the famous ones is like no regrets, and regrets is spelled wrong.
No regrets. Not even a single letter.
No regrets.
No regrets.
It's so good.
No regrets.
No regrets. All right, Richard Griffin will join us here in a moment. Let us know when he's here, boys, and we'll get to our bracket a little bit later on. We're down to 4 athletes. I don't think it's ultimately surprising. You can vote online at TSN 1050 Radio, at OverDrive 1050. You got Kawhi obviously into the finals. You got Bautista into the finals, and you got Austin Matthews and Kyle Lowry. So there's your final 4. Those are the kind of big 4 athletes, I think, in the last 25 years. You could dispute it. There's other guys that you obviously could include. Donaldson, you could include Sundin, maybe Marner, maybe Willie, maybe Tavares, and there's others. But I think in terms of the guys who have kind of been at the forefront of the most success, or certainly been considered most valuable at any perspective, at any specific time over the last 25 years, those are probably the 4 front runners. So I'm not overly surprised that's what we have left. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. But we got Jays Yankees again tonight, and the Jays can win the series, and ultimately that's all you want. Yeah, you lost last night. You're not going to beat the Yankees every single night, but they battled. They battled. They were down 3-0 early, down 4-1. They battled back. Tie a game up. Obviously, we saw Rice do what he did in the 9th last night. 3 home runs for the Yankees. The Yankees win 5-4. Game 3 of the series tonight. Chris Bassett on the mound for the Jays. Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees. Here he is from GriffsThePitch.com, Richard Griffin. How are we doing, Griff?
Doing great. I was very impressed with Cameron Maven and Strut. I got to tell you, I got 4 kids. I spaced them 10 years apart from first to fourth. But and they were born in the same hospital in Montreal, and all I went there with was a pocket full of quarters and a wooden phone booth. And I wasn't going to drop a quarter to call any talk show and talk to you guys like you.
No kidding. I couldn't believe it. Doogie's like, yeah, he needs a minute. And I'm like, well, what? And I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, what's going on here? He's like, well, his wife just had their 4th child. I'm like, well, that's
her water
reasonable.
Just broke.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of, that's reasonable. Yeah, we appreciate him still finding time. And watching the game last night, and he's pretty high on the Jays. Everyone seems to be pretty high on the Jays, and everyone's got a different thing that has seemingly impressed them most recently. Do you have one thing in particular, or one player, one manager? Where does your head go first, Griff, when you consider how well they've been playing the last month and a half?
Well, I hate to say it, but we on Exit Philosophy, we were burying George Springer early in the season. And I think it comes down to George Springer having a great season, a bounce-back season. He's swinging harder. He's making more contact with velocity. And I think that the clubhouse atmosphere, if your older players, if your leaders aren't able to lead on the field, they're not able to lead in the clubhouse. And I see a team that is following guys like Springer. And I know that Vlad is 26 years old, but he's one of those guys too. And but the Springer influence to me is a big factor that separates last year from this year.
Yeah, and how much of that, you see George do that, you see him produce. If you're Vladdy, does that drive you to have a little more leadership and kind of take ownership? And, of course, there's the contract that goes with it. But it feels like Vladdy, maybe there's more of a maturity to the way he's kind of conducting himself right now.
Yeah, I think he has in the past. I mean, his leadership involves like that dive into home plate the other night and coming up, showing that kind of enthusiasm. I mean, he looked like a early morning divot that you hit on with a 9-iron, sliding in not very graceful, but quite effective. And he's not like he's never been, even in the minor leagues, home run threat, but he does have, a huge home run threat. Everybody thinks he should be hitting the 48 that he hit that one year, but he's got 60 walks, 60 strikeouts, which is very rare for a guy of his stature. And last year around this time, he had 13, 14 home runs. So I think he'll get to his 30, and his leadership will start to show. I don't think they need to go out at the trade deadline and get another right-handed hitter. I think Vlad and Bo and George Springer are pretty much the answers to that question.
After, the way that they put Hoffman in the ninth inning last night, did that kind of highlight the fact that maybe they want to spend some assets to get additional arms in the as relievers?
Yeah, most definitely. And I don't criticize John Schneider for bringing in Jeff Hoffman, because Hoffman is a gamer. He wants the ball. And then as a manager, you have to say, who is my best option at this spot in the game? Ninth inning tie game. And your closer has stepped up for the fourth time in 5 games and says, I want the ball. You got to give him the ball because he is the best option. They only have 3 leverage relievers at this point and 5 guys who sort of fill in the gaps, fill in the innings. And when you're winning that many games in a row, you're competitive that many games in a row, you have that much leverage. You need to go out and get a couple of more guys. And I think the Pirates are good at the deadline. The Pirates are a good target, even just for 2 pitchers, for David Bednar, who used to be their closer and really isn't. And when you're 20 games under 500, you don't really need him that much. He's like the Pittsburgh Maytag repairman, and I'm dating myself there. But then you have Mitch Keller, who is a starter under control. And I gave a plan for a 6-man rotation to Pete Walker and John Schneider at spring training, and they looked at it and said, that's all well and good, but who's our 6th guy? Now, right. If they go out and get a 6th guy, I have another plan that I'll show them that takes them from the trade deadline to the end of the season. And you see all of their veteran starting pitchers say how much they appreciate an extra day's rest. Well, if you got a 6-man rotation, they're all getting that rest, and my plan has it set up so that the 3 big boys are available and in rotation to start any playoff series.
With Richard Griffin, yeah, it is a smaller sample size, but the last couple times Kevin Gausman in particular has had extended rest, he's looked phenomenal. A couple of nights ago being the best example of that. I don't think there's any doubt Scherzer would probably approve of that. And I can't speak for Barrios or Bassett, but like you said, these are veteran guys. I think if you're Eric Lauer, you're like, I don't know if I need that. I just want to keep pitching. I want to be on the bump every fifth day if I can. But
well, the thing about that rotation is that if you have 6 men going in there, if something happens to Scherzer and Hayes, we talked about it earlier in the year that we didn't expect him to start more than 14 games, especially after that first start injury. So if somebody does go down, somebody does get hurt, then you've got a guy already on board who's not sort of pitching out of the bullpen. He is in a rotation that can come in and fill, and now you go back to a 5-man rotation. I think that is the smartest way to go about it. Barrios has 7 straight seasons of 32 starts and has never missed a start due to injury. So you don't worry about his health taking the ball, but you do worry about his endurance in a marathon that will hopefully for them carry into October.
Well, and that's where it's going to get interesting. Like if you put the cart before the horse and put them into October, and you assume that they pick up, a starter that can factor in some capacity, so they're at least 4 deep. Where if you're in a divisional series, certainly a championship series, you're going to need a 4th starter. But like you mentioned, they have 3 guys they can really, really rely on in the bullpen. I think they need at least 1, if not 2 arms there. But let's say they get 1. Let's say they get a starter. Like, is there? Could you picture a world where Scherzer is a middle reliever in the playoffs? Like, what's his role look like?
Hell no. He's going to be a starter in the playoffs if he's healthy. I mean, he's got the experience. He's got the determination. He's got that look in his eyes that he wants the ball. Can
he do it, though, Griff? Deep. Like, that's the look in the eyes. He had it last night, and Chisholm, that ball still hasn't landed yet. Yeah,
I heard you earlier. That's very funny.
It's true, though.
But not if Max is listening. But
no, I know. I hear you.
But I mean, everybody's acting, and I'm agreeing with you here, Hayes. Everyone's acting like Scherzer is back. And just because he's throwing 90 pitches and able to get through 5 innings doesn't mean that Scherzer's back. Those aren't Hall of Fame credentials. But for a 40-year-old who's going into the playoffs and who will be extra adrenalized, you got 3 guys, the 3 veteran guys that we're talking about, Barrios, Gausman. I would put Gausman at the top of the rotation to start a playoff series. Then you have Barrios, Scherzer, and Bassett. Tonight is going to tell a lot. The Yankees throwing Max Fried, and the Jays throwing one of their 3 interchangeable guys in Chris Bassett. We'll see how that turns out. But this is such a huge game. You can't overestimate how much this game means to the Blue Jays. If they win, they have the tiebreaker against the Yankees going to the postseason with no 1-game playoff. They will have the tiebreaker. They will have won the season series. If they don't, the Yankees have a 3-game series in the Bronx to look forward to in September. And you know that their momentum will carry from today into September and through the trade deadline, where they're sure to make improvements, and the Jays have to make improvements.
It's a huge game tonight, Griff. But I guess if you look at the schedule, how would you kind of handicap? And tonight would be the start of it. How would you handicap the Jays' chances of finishing first in the division? You have a tough series against Detroit, and then you're going to play some teams like Kansas City and Colorado, where you should be able to stack up some wins. How do you think the next couple weeks go for the Jays?
Yeah, I mean, in baseball, it's a different animal to go down a schedule like that, because everyone's on the schedule for everybody. You play every National League team, you play the American League teams in your division and in your league the same number of times. So, it all depends to me on injuries, we saw Scherzer at the end of his outing looking at his hand. We saw George Springer yesterday looking at his left pec after a swing. And who knows what the injury situation is going to be. And baseball is so different in terms of playing every day, playing every night with leads coming and going in the division. I mean, they were on May 28th, they were buried. And now everyone's talking about, Jays fans are such that they're looking for what's going to go wrong. That's the way they look at baseball. If they're in first place, they're going, well, what can we do to screw this up? Because it'll happen. And the Yankee fans are going, and Michael Kay and those guys are going, this can't be happening. We're a much better team. So those things will play themselves out. I think the Tigers series, the Tigers are in the same situation. They're not used to being where they are in the standings. So it's not like playing the Yankees. When you play the Yankees, there is that air of superiority that they give you, that they exude, and it's not going to happen at Comerica Park. So they're on an even footing there. We'll see how they come out of that. But right now, things are looking good. I wouldn't even hazard a guess on whether they're going to win the division or not. But I would say that there's a huge chance that they will be in the playoffs in October.
It sounds like Varsho is going to play a few more games in the minors, and he'll be up, whether the first or second city they visit on this road trip. How do you manage kind of reincorporating a player that obviously is important for you, but the chemistry seems to be rolling with this lineup right now?
Yeah, I would not worry about the chemistry and Varsho disrupting it. I think that even Andres Jimenez, when he comes back, will be put back into the lineup. I mean, it's in the case of Jimenez, it's the contract and the defense. In the case of Varsho, it's because he fits in center field. That's the plan for him. And, that clubhouse is going to stay positive no matter who's in the starting lineup, as long as they keep hustling and creating excitement. And as long as those home games, there's 42,000 fans eating 85,000 hot dogs.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what happened last night. They're breaking records, Griff, for eating hot dogs and all that kind of stuff.
Don't get me started on that.
Everything's coming together with Richard Griffin. And, yeah, Varsho, it's interesting. Like, when you get a veteran like that, he hasn't been here forever. But I'm always curious how they feel about a scenario like this where teams playing this well without him. It's got to be kind of strange.
Yeah, I think the pitching staff, every pitcher on that staff is looking forward to having Dalton Varsho back out there. Miles Straw is a great defender, and he's better coming off the bench in certain roles defensively in one of the corner outfield spots or as a pinch runner, pinch hitter against a left-handed reliever. That's his best role. And one of the differences between the Blue Jays and the Yankees is defense. And you look at, wow, what a plucky Blue Jays team it was. Well, if the shortstop hadn't thrown a couple balls into the dirt and spiked them, that wouldn't have happened. So the defense is a huge separator for the Blue Jays, and it might be what cost the Yankees down the stretch because they boot the ball around a little too much to be a World Series winner.
Yeah, that's been coming out recently. There have been reports on that I guess the Dodgers in the World Series just said, force them to make mistakes, they will. That's kind of the way the Yankees operate, and that's a real shot at Aaron Boone, isn't it? Like, Boone just takes bullets from everywhere, including in New York. Like, by all accounts, there aren't many Yankee fans that support him yet.
Yeah, there's not very many managers or head coaches that have skin as thin as Aaron Boone. And, it's fun to see his reactions, but I'm sure that he gets so much social media reaction. He shouldn't even be on any of those because he's going to get buried every day on that. So I think Aaron Boone does take a lot of heat, but it's not him who gave the team defenders that really can't make the plays, that a team that for 8 years the Blue Jays have been talking about run prevention. I mean, that was Ross Atkins has it tattooed on his left shoulder, I think.
Yeah.
But that to me is a big difference between those two teams. And the starting pitchers and the bullpen appreciate the fact that these guys pick it up. In fact, if you go get another starting pitcher or reliever from another team, they're going to benefit from the team defense that the Blue Jays flash, and it might even make the numbers better, and you'll get extra value for what you get at the trade deadline.
Well, you mentioned Ross, and that has been I think an evergreen debate in this market, and especially with how they're playing right now. Like, how much credit should the GM be getting and the front office be getting for the current success that the team's having, where it's not the additions they made in the offseason. Those guys aren't even playing. for the most part. How do you answer that, Griff? Like how much has Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, by extension, redeemed themselves just based on the way the team's been playing and how many wins they've had recently?
Well, I mean, they've had those 3 starting pitchers for a while. And what's the expression about squirrels, blind squirrels and nuts?
Yeah.
I mean, they made a trade for money to sign Roki Sasaki, who didn't sign. Instead, they got Miles Straw, and look at how that turned out. So, you make enough moves, and some of them work, some of them don't. But you build it around moves that you made years ago with those 3 starters in the rotation. And so, they were very patient in staying with the program. But I don't give them as much credit as a lot of people might.
Well, and the players ultimately deserve the most credit. Like George Springer, now they brought him in. That's what I said yesterday, Griff. Like, they've been here so long. Yeah. Everyone is their player, for the most part. Yes, they didn't technically sign Vladdy, but what I mean by that is when he was 16, not this past offseason.
Right.
But literally everyone in the organization is their people.
Yeah, and there was an undervalued farm system that was really run down in every major publication, Baseball America, MLB, Pipeline, and they've produced guys like Addison Barger. They've produced, Alejandro Kirk came out of the farm system. They've produced guys who have really stepped in and done a job for them. They signed Nathan Lucas, and I give them credit for that. But to me, guys like Nathan Lucas and Will Wagner and Joey Loperfido, the favorite of Cameron Maven, I believe.
Yes.
They're all being showcased at this point. They're helping to win, but to me, they would be gone in a heartbeat in a trade if the right deal came along because they're replaceable. You look at all the shortstops. You look at Leo Jimenez. The Pirates are using Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and he's done after this year. That's why you could put a package together for the Pittsburgh Pirates from your farm system and a couple of arms that are fringy big league arms, and you could make a deal with those guys.
Well, Game 3 of the series tonight. It's going to be a fun one down at the Dome, and the Jays are off to Detroit. A lot of history between those two teams. There'll be a lot of Jays fans down there as well at Comerica. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So it's going to be a fun handful of days, and as we get closer to the trade deadline, it'll be very exciting as well. He's Richard Griffin. You can catch the podcast, Exit Philosophy, griffsthepitch.com. Always great catching up with you, Griff. Thank you for doing this.
Okay, guys, anytime.
And we'll continue with arbitration. We'll get to our best bets, and we got the 4 athletes that represent Toronto sports, the most valuable 4 athletes of the last 25 years. Struddy, you're going to help us get it down to 2. At least we're going to give our answers. The people can vote online, Instagram, Twitter, all that. But we'll get to that as well later this hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
business. Give you one more night to get this.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel later in the hour on Jays Yankees tonight. So we're down to the final four. This week's TSN 1050 Toronto Sports Quarter Century Bracket Challenge. Most valuable Toronto athlete of the last 25 years. We've got Kawhi Leonard up against Jose Bautista, Austin Matthews against Kyle Lowry. Those seem like the four guys that make the most sense. I don't know if you agree, disagree. Struddy, maybe you have a different viewpoint. If so, go ahead. Now's your time. Want to throw anybody else out?
Can I please just submit this? So I kind of put my list together, and a lot of the same names are on there, obviously, but I think there's one massive omission that I believe would be the biggest sports moment in the last 20 to 30 years in sports in Toronto. I think it was worldwide. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go Donovan Bailey versus Michael Johnson, 1997, the 150-meter race. And that's the first time I can remember a Canadian athlete being cocky. We all remember Michael Johnson pulling up because he said his hamstring was sore, but Donovan called him out. And, I just think that's a moment that we overlooked in this draft. And I think it would have overshadowed some of the other choices of athletes you had in there. One moment, I get it.
It's one moment.
It was a huge moment.
One moment.
Huge moment.
I don't know if it fits the whole, 25-year timeline. That's also, I think, a possible concern on that front. But
just outside. Just outside.
Just a bit
like
outside.
36 months.
Maybe it hit the corner. You're right, though. That was – because remember where that started. Typical Americans, NBC, Bob Costas, I'll never forget it, 96, it was in Atlanta, and Bailey wins, obviously he wins gold medal, fastest man in the world, and forever, right, the previous 50 years, whoever won the men's 100, that was your label. You were the fastest man. You were the fastest man in the world, fastest person in the world. Period. No one disputed that. And they slowed down the tape. Remember, they slowed it down when Johnson hit the 100 mark, even though he was already in full movement, right, running the 200. And they're like, well, if you look at it, when he starts his 100 meter, he ran it in 9.78 or something, whatever it was, and which is completely bogus, completely ridiculous. Such a goofy play by NBC, and also just like not fair because like 100%. Bailey, the 100 meter, they're starting like they're stopped. It's a stop and start scenario where Johnson's in full swing coming around the turn, and they made this big deal out of it. Actually, Johnson's faster, and that bothered so many people, including Donovan Bailey. He said, "All right, let's meet in the middle. 150 meters at the Ryder Center. Come on up." And he did pull the chute. And he called him a chicken, a coward afterwards, which was amazing. And he was. And because he came out of the gates in that race so fast. Michael Johnson had no chance at keeping up with him or catching him. And I love that moment. You're right, Stroud. That's one of the all-time great sports moments. And Canadians were not used to that, where Bailey said, screw it. I'm the man. We're the country that's got the fastest people in the world. Head back home, Michael Johnson, and it was a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
So I guess I'm just out. I'm just outside the window.
Just a little bit outside, but it was a great pitch.
Would you consider it? Would anyone consider this if they was inside the window, or is that?
Well, I mean, I guess
top 16.
If it was in the window, 100%. I think you can consider it. There's some names there that got knocked out in like the round robin that are fine. Like good, very household names.
Is it a Toronto story? Like the best thing about that story was it was a Canadian story, right?
Yeah, I guess it took place in Toronto.
I know he's from Oakville.
To me, it's an
Toronto guy.
Yeah, it's an iconic moment. I know he's not a sports team from there, but I mean, the people can speak, and I get it's outside, so it's a moot point. But
I love
that's
that
one
moment.
I wanted to squeeze in there.
I love that call. I love that moment.
Oh,
and if you go in the last 50 years, like one of the most triumphant, like patriotic moments, unreal. When he won in '96, and especially coming off what happened in '88.
Oh,
the embarrassment on that front.
Low point.
And, yeah, it was a tough one.
Oh, so hard.
Yeah, that was difficult.
Tokyo.
Obviously, yes, and it was Seoul, wasn't it? I think it was in South Korea, I believe.
No, it was so sad.
Yeah, and then 8 years later, two summer games later, Donovan Bailey ends up winning, and remember they won the 4x4 100 also or 4x100 the relay the next Saturday night, and there was that incredible call on CBC, like. Saturday nights in Georgia, what a night for Canada. It was just an incredible call. And because the 100-meter was the first weekend, the 4x100 was the second weekend. It was amazing. Like, in terms of patriotism and just feel great about Canadian sports, couldn't beat it. All right, so just outside, but as for the four that are remaining, Kawhi Leonard versus Jose Bautista. I'll go first. This is Kawhi. Like I announced a few days ago, Kawhi's going to win this for me personally because, yes, it's a one-year window, but he won. He won the championship. He did something for the Raptors that no one had ever done before. No one ever envisioned being possible. Just never seemed possible. Even though the Leafs haven't won anything in almost 60 years, it always felt like the Leafs were closer and had a better chance. Like it was easier to imagine. And Kawhi's arrival and what came with that, and the fact that it was a one-year wonder almost adds to the lore of it all. So I'd have Kawhi pass Bautista. And I'd go Matthews over Lowry, as much as Kyle deserves his flowers, and it was great. He was the number 2 guy on that team. Austin's the number 1 guy. Yes, hasn't won. Obviously nowhere close to as much winning as Lowry, because it wasn't just that championship year in 19. They went to the Eastern Conference Final before with Kyle being the man. They won rounds seemingly every year, close to it. And Austin has not done that with the Leafs. But still, prior to him showing up, kind of a wasteland. He's been the man. He's probably going to go down. Certainly if he wins, he'll be the greatest Leaf ever, and it won't be close. But he's got to win, I think, in order to do that. But I would go Kawhi Matthews in the finals as of tomorrow.
Yeah, I would have Matthews over Lowry as well, because Matthews arriving kind of signified things changing in Toronto. It was the team was on the upswing. They did the new logo. It was the 100th year, and he delivered, individual success. Hart Trophy, the first time since the mid-'50s that was done. So I think that obviously carries some weight. And Kawhi, like you said, for him to do what he did in the 1 year. And one of the things maybe we haven't talked about with Kawhi is, how pinpoint precise the whole load management thing was for him that year. Because if they didn't do that properly, there's a very good chance that Kawhi is not playing in the playoffs in those pivotal moments and he's not available to you. But he was, and they executed everything perfectly. And that, that was obviously a big reason why they win.
Big time. Big time. And I do want to reference Don Whitman was, of course, the broadcaster who said that. Quote, if you're Canadian, you have to love Saturday nights in Georgia. What a call. It just gives me shivers just even reading it, because I've heard it so many times. When Bailey obviously won the first Saturday and then they won the relay the next Saturday. What a call. He may have been prepared for that, but if that's spontaneous, that's just like an all-time great broadcasting moment. If you're Canadian, you have to love Saturday nights in Georgia. What a call by Don Whitman. All-time great.
It's such a kick in the nuts to the Americans.
That's the best part, too. They lose, the 100. They lost the 4x100.
Yeah.
In the States, like in Atlanta, it's their home games, and Canada just went down there and absolutely punked them. It was amazing.
Fun to watch.
And again, when you consider what happened with Ben Johnson and all that
was hard.
A few years earlier, it wasn't great. We kind of we're waiting for some redemption there. All right, let me sneak in a couple more arbitrations.
Hold on, let me just get my votes in.
You go, Strutty. Sorry, my bad. I'm cutting you out.
Kawhi's a slam dunk.
Kawhi's a slam dunk. Okay.
Kyle Lowry was the engine that drove that team.
Yes.
I think that his hustle, his attitude, the way he brought it, and he suffered through some tough times there.
Mm-hmm.
And he stayed the course, kept bringing it, and he was a pit bull. And I love the way that he played. Very likable player and brought it every single night. And I'm not saying that Austin doesn't or hasn't. That's not my point. But you have to respect someone, and it drove ultimately his team to get a championship. For sure, without Kawhi, they don't win it. But I believe he was the constant bell or guy that was ringing that bell for that time there. For that reason, I give the vote to Kyle Lowry.
Very reasonable. I mean, again, they won, and Kyle was a big part of it. And you're right, he was there through the grind. They had their ups and downs. They couldn't get over the top, and he needed Kawhi to help him get there. But he played a pivotal role in everything they did that year. He wasn't load managing like Kawhi was. He was playing, he was pushing, and he bought into a new coach. He had a lot of success under Dwayne Casey. New coach with Nick Nurse when he arrived, understanding that Kawhi's the man and you got to play a different role. There's a lot of value in the fact that he was accepting of that. So I could totally reason with either choice there, and I'm not going to push back on Lowry. We'll see how people vote, and we'll get to the finals tomorrow. All right, the Maple Leafs step into arbitration. They step into arbitration. They are awarded a 98-point season next year. Do they take it or leave it?
Ooh, what are they coming off? 105 or something?
Yeah, 108 I think it was, and they won the division. 106, 108.
Oh, they were 108 last year.
Yep.
And you want to give them 98?
98.
98 gets them into the playoffs, but I guess they would sign up for 98. You're making the playoffs at 98.
You're probably
not
a wild
running
card,
away.
right?
Yeah,
You're a wild card at that point.
So what did home ice do for them this year? They got thumped in games 5 and 7 that's when it's advantageous to have home ice, and they didn't do anything with it anyways. I think there's the fact that like it's a little bit unknown what life after Marner is going to be like, and you'll sign up for 98 points. Also, we talked about goaltending with Jonas, right? Like, what if Stolarz has a little bit of a comeback to reality? Maybe Joseph Woll plays better, but maybe they just don't have career years. And maybe some players don't have career years, but you still get 98 points and a chance to redeem yourself in the playoffs. I think they would sign up for it.
What's the trade-off? You're taking 5 wins off the table here. Like, does Michelli play well, or does Dakota Joshua, does he come in and find a role? Like, there's got to be something that you got to give me something more than just shaving 10 points off your Hayes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess the point is, Strut, if you don't take the 98, what if you finish with 88 and you miss? Like, 98's, you're guaranteed in. Yes, it's a big drop. It'd be the least amount of points I think they've had in the Matthews era. COVID notwithstanding.
So basically asking me, are they or are they not a playoff team? I believe they're a playoff team, so I guess I'll take it. Can they move up from there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this group might surprise in some areas for sure. But there's no way they're not a playoff team. Like, if they're not a playoff team, things went really bad.
I agree
really badly.
Well, and who had 98 points last year in the regular season? Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
There you go.
But they were.
No, I know. I get it. Like, they weren't playing guys towards the end.
Yeah.
Quality team, right? Like, I don't think you're necessarily defined by 98 or 102 or 105.
I agree. That's why I would probably take it, too. I know it's kind of is it a loser's mentality? Maybe, but maybe it's the opposite. It's like, hey, I don't care if it's 105. I don't care if you win the division again. 98's getting you in. Like, maybe you are the third seed. Maybe you're the first wild card, whatever. The Habs had 91 points. They got in. Right, you're not missing the playoffs with 98 points. I think that's kind of the purpose of this. And if you're the Maple Leafs, you won the division last year. You had a very advantageous first round. You kind of beat up on a younger team that hadn't been to the dance before. But you're such a veteran team, and you're coming back with a very similar team. I think you just punch a ticket. And if that's being awarded to you on July 23rd or whatever it is, I'm taking it. Just give me the 98. That means I'm in. Yeah. I'd take that for almost any of the like high-end teams in the league. Just get me in. I'm in, and I'll figure it out from there.
The other thing, sorry, Star. The other thing you have to keep in mind right now with the East, it's like Ottawa, Montreal don't want to go anywhere. Columbus close to making the playoffs. The Rangers have to have a bounce-back year. It's like there's a lot of competitiveness for those last few spots. So if you can guarantee yourself you're in, I think you're taking that.
But just a quick thought. I heard a report that Owen Zellweger from the Anaheim Ducks might be available through trade. They want to get, they have too many young D-men. I've been talking for the last couple of weeks on this program about a player that they need, and that might be the type of guy. He's a D-man, smaller, good skater, moves the puck. Like, I mentioned, who did I mention?
Gostisbehere in the past.
Yes. So this might be a guy this might be the fit. Not the biggest guy, but skates, powerful skater. So that's the kind of guy, and I meant to bring that up earlier, but that's, that might be a player that you could add, and that changes the look on your back end as well.
Yep, I like that idea. Yeah, I mean,
true power play guy, like a true offensive
he'd get a chance.
Guy, right?
He'd get a chance, but he's not a finished product. So you're not bringing Cale Makar, but this is a guy that I think has some qualities. But that's a guy I'd take a look at if I was trade living.
It's kind of amazing how like every day I see a new report from some insider on some platform. And every team's still looking for improvements. It's like, well, if everyone's looking, how is this ever going to happen? Like, is this the biggest game of chicken ever? I read this. We've heard forever. The Leafs still looking for a top 6 winger. Edmonton looking for some top 6 help.
For sure, yeah.
It's like, okay, well, who is it? Like, when is that player going to arrive? When is that trade going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I always love that too. And then I put myself back in like when you were playing and you were a young guy and you're like, Well, you have guys in your pipeline. Why don't you give some guys opportunities to see if they can actually be top 6 guys? Because sometimes you just don't know unless you I don't want to say you just give guys a chance, but there's obviously younger guys that have earned opportunities. Maybe not as much in Toronto's system because the pipeline has been pretty bare, although now Easton Cowan is part of it. But like if you're in Edmonton, a guy like Matty Savoy that you traded for.
Isaac Howard.
Right. Those are guys that deserve opportunities. Look for top 6 help all you want. Might not be out there. Maybe it's internal. Maybe you got to give young guys a chance.
And giving a young player a chance, it's not just one game. It's not saying this is it. This is your chance. You got 60 minutes. Like, there's got to be a plan here of we're going to give you 2-3 months to get settled in and just kind of find your way and live with mistakes. Because there are mistakes. Young players make mistakes. Things happen faster, way faster than you've seen at college or in the minors.
Yeah, and that's really on the coach, isn't it? Having the ability to show that patience.
It's hard, man. It might cost you a game.
Yeah, exactly. And you may have your star veteran player looking over saying, this guy's still with me? Okay.
But he's got to be on the same page. You've got to talk to him. Say, hey, man, you're going to be with this guy, and we think he can be X in this much time. But you can't look at me after the first turnover and say, hey, I want whoever back, right? Give me whatever, Podkolzin, and then go get Arvidsson back from Boston.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what else about that star player that's looking over, Hayes? It's like that guy has a little bit of a responsibility to bring guys along. 100%. Like the guys that are really the best, they say, put me with the young guy. I'll make the young guy better. How many veteran guys made superstars out of young players? Like, I'm sure if you did the history lesson, you could go back and say, young player X got paired with veteran player Y, and it was, he was the mentor for him. It's every year you could probably find an example of that.
And that's the job. Yeah. That's the job of veteran players, to bring these young guys along and be patient and don't lose it when they, whatever, they throw you a grenade or whatever. So, but that's every team. That's every team with young players.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Jays, Yankees tonight. We'll get to that next.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to take the under tonight. 8 runs. I hit the under last night. It was 9.5. Finished at 9. Obviously, 5-4 Yankees. But Fried has been so good. Bassett was really good out of the break. He's been good so far. I like the opportunity for him to step up in the moment. He knows Bassett, a veteran. He's going up against a pure ace in Fried. So I expect this to be a chess match tonight. I think it'll be a great ball game, 4-3 type game. I'm going to take the under. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. First inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 18 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right. Well, we'll see what comes out of it tonight.
Yeah.
We got the Jays in action. Then they're in Detroit tomorrow. We think John Schneider's coming on tomorrow. We look forward to catching up with the manager, hopefully for him and the Jays and Jays fans coming off a series win this evening. It's a big one. As Griff just said earlier this hour, man, you can't overstate how big this game is. Like if the Jays win tonight, it's just massive.
Yeah, they've had a playoff feel though. Like even like the ins and outs of it, the grinding for runs and scratching and clawing, the pitching battles. It's been really good. It's been fun to watch.
Great baseball, man. The last 2 games, last 2 nights have been outstanding. No reason to expect anything less tonight. You know, it'll be a packed park. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight and off to Detroit tomorrow. All right, boys. Good stuff. Thanks for doing this. Great seeing you guys as always.
Struddy, thanks for dressing up today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Struddy brought his A game.
Well, I didn't know if it was dressing up, dressing down. I put in the text, and you said it's laundry day again, so I didn't want to outstage you again, or
we're just always behind.
It's just natural. You know what's coming. He is Jason Strudwick, Frankie Corrado. I'm Brian Hayes. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and of course up on YouTube Live. Every hour of every show up on YouTube and TSN's YouTube channel. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
The real ones, and they drink a real